Greetings, everyone, and welcome to SIFTD's Not E3 2024 coverage. We have a very, very special coverage for you guys this year. Alongside me to discuss all the big topics from Xbox's Not E3 press conference are Marcus Beer.
Hello.
What's up, Marcus?
How's it going? This is awesome. And we've all got glasses. Boy, we old.
That's the funny thing, is the last time we were all together, probably only Pachter had glasses. And now all three of us have them. And speaking of which, also alongside us to discuss everything not E3 2024 is Pachter Factor star Michael Pachter. What's up?
Beauty Queen wave. I've worn glasses since I was 5, so
Yeah.
I've never not worn them.
Yep, you've had them ever since we've known you, and since everybody watching this has known you. Yeah.
My parents noticed I was sitting about 3 inches from the television and took me to get my eyes examined at 5. So there you go.
Well, we are about to break down all the big stories, all the big games from the Xbox Not E3 2024 press conference. It was, wow. I guess if I had to put it in one word, wow. It was a lot more and a lot better than I expected. We're going to discuss all the big topics from the show. And once we get through kind of all the big topics, we'll deliver our letter grades. I think maybe we should kick things off first with hardware. There was a bunch of important hardware announced at this press conference. This is something I did not expect at all, Pachter. Were you surprised that they announced 3 brand new Xbox consoles? There's a Galaxy Black Xbox Series X with a 2 TB SSD. There's now the all-digital Xbox Series X in white with a 1 TB hard drive. And then there's a new Xbox Series S, which has a 1 TB SSD that's in robot white. All 3 are coming holidays 2024. Pachter, are you surprised by this?
I'm not. I mean, maybe because it's 3 instead of 2 or 1. But if you roll back, to PlayStation 2, we started getting multiple versions of consoles. That accelerated with PS3 and Xbox 360, and it accelerated yet again with PS4 and Xbox One. So what we're seeing now, from PS2 days, we used to see price cuts on consoles. So PlayStation 2 was $300 when it launched, and 18 months later dropped to $200, and then another year later, $149. We're not getting those kind of cuts anymore. We're getting newer, more streamlined consoles with bigger hard drives, typically bigger hard drives.
Which is what's happening here, obviously. Yeah.
It's very clear what Microsoft is doing here, which is they're going to have a Game Pass version of their console. And so the digital only big hard drive, who knows what they're going to charge, but I'll bet it is closer to 200 than it is to 400. So I'm going to take the 299 price point and below, and it might even be 249, and that's a really compelling value. So not a surprise. They're all in on Game Pass, and we'll get to that obviously later in the show.
This stuff did leak, by the way. Both the all-digital Xbox Series X and the new Series S leaked before the show. But it had happened months ago, and I think a lot of people had just forgotten about those leaks because it had been so long. I think that kind of caught people off guard. Marcus, do you ever find yourself buying upgraded versions of consoles, or do you tend to stick with the launch unit?
It depends. If it's PlayStation, my launch unit generally tends to last. If it's Xbox, I end up having to replace it 2 or 3 times.
That's funny. Why do you think that is?
I have no idea. My 360 I replaced 3 times.
Red Ring, obviously, part of that.
Yeah, and then the X-Bone, as it was, didn't survive a cat vomiting down into the fan. But look, I'm going to say that this, and I'd be interested to hear what Michael says. The Games Pass only machine, that's their play to put their lagging Sony's against Sony's hardware. This is their big swing. I mean, they backed it up today, and we'll obviously go and talk about Games Pass. But this is like Netflix making a Netflix-only TV. Mm-hmm. And then obviously we know that, you can play all these things on TVs, cloud, iPad, whatever. But to have this box with a big ass hard drive, and if it comes in at $299, $249, that's gonna. I mean, a lot of people will now be able to afford Xbox as their second console, and they will be able to afford the 14, 15, 16.99 for Games Pass and have all that stuff. And it's just going to continue to whittle away at what Sony has. And given what Sony have shown us so far this year, I'd be a bit concerned if I was them.
Yeah. What's interesting is that the Series S has been the better selling console for Microsoft, to your point of having that lower price point console there for basically for people to just play games on Game Pass that look pretty good. I mean, most of the games run around 2K and then the indie games run in 4K. And I think for a lot of people, that's good enough. So to your point, people are buying the Series S more than the Series X. So it does seem like that's kind of the sweet spot as far as the Xbox hardware portfolio is concerned right now. So not surprised, I think, from all three of us, but I think it's a good step as well to provide more options for hardware when your entire business model is kind of built around Game Pass, right?
Yeah, I just wish they'd stop dropping them in white.
Yeah.
White consoles are freaking ugly.
I always buy them in black. I got my PlayStation 5. One of the first things I did was buy black plates for my PlayStation 5. So my PlayStation 5 is all black.
I'm looking at my PS5 now and it's different.
My wife appreciated that more than I did. So when I got my PS5, I set it up so the entertainment center underneath the TV, there was enough room between the entertainment center and the TV to stand it up vertically. I stood it up vertically and she was like, oh no. She's like, that thing is laying sideways or it's going out of here. So, she is not a fan of the launch PS5. I'm not really either. I think they maybe went a little too arty. There's no happy middle between like Xbox Series X, which is just a box, and then PlayStation 5, where they try to get all arty with it. It seems like there should be a happy medium that they haven't found yet. So anyway, I think we're all a little surprised that there's new hardware, but it's all a good idea. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay, let's move on to the games, and there are so many. So I have about 14 or 15 games that I want to talk about, and I was very, very picky about the games that I was going to bring onto this show to talk with you guys about. Like, I cut some pretty good stuff out of there, and there's still 15. That just shows you the strength of this press conference. So the first one we should talk about, I think, is the biggest franchise in the industry. It's obviously leading up to this. It was a big story on what Microsoft was going to do with it going forward, and that is Call of Duty Black Ops 6. They showed the first campaign trailer for it, and then immediately afterwards, they did about a 30-minute direct just for Black Ops 6, which I was kind of listening to out of one ear while getting ready for our broadcast. So I didn't get all the details from it, but it does sound like it's going to be a very innovative campaign. And then obviously the big news here really is that it's going to be day and date on Game Pass. Pachter, now that you know a little bit more about how they're handling that, how are you feeling about that day one Game Pass Call of Duty thing?
You know, I think the question we don't have answered is if it's a required download, in which case you can play it day one and you can play multiplayer and everything's going to work flawlessly, or if it's both download and an option to stream it. If they do the latter, it'll be laggy on multiplayer, but it'll obviously work for single player campaign. They didn't say either.
How does that play into the Ubisoft stuff, Pachter, where they have to license through Ubisoft in Europe?
Ubi has the right to announce that, and they may well announce it. I actually expect nobody's going to say anything because I think they're still negotiating the details and how much Ubisoft's going to get paid. But I think the interesting reveal in the Call of Duty trailer, or not trailer, the program, the 30-minute program, was that all the multiplayer takes place after the single player campaign. So, you know, the big reveal, which again, maybe that's happened before, but it was just interesting. Like, you've got to get through single player before multiplayer makes sense. And every place you go in multiplayer, you're revisiting the maps you unlocked in single player. That suggests to me that it's going to be a streaming option on Game Pass. Then they can get you to buy a console in order to play it later. So I think they're going to try to draw in a couple of million people who say, oh, hell, I'll join Game Pass. Look at all these 15 games Shane talked about. You know, I want to be on Game Pass. And then they can sell them one of these stripped down consoles and sign them up to play multiplayer. So I was very excited about how they explained it. And
why would they not make the campaign downloadable on Game Pass? What would be the point of not allowing that?
No, I didn't mean not downloadable. I meant that you don't have to download it.
Okay, gotcha. But the option's still there to download it if you want.
Right. All games that are on Game Pass now are your choice, download or stream if Microsoft owns them. It's the Activision Blizzard stuff that they Microsoft can offer download and not stream, and they won't pay Ubisoft anything. If they offer stream, they have to pay Ubisoft. So the fact that they didn't say download only today tells me it will be streaming, and maybe they haven't gotten the details yet. We'll find out tomorrow, and we'll see if Ubisoft says something. My guess is they won't. Anyway.
Okay,
I don't want to talk for 4 hours on one of the 15 topics. Go ahead, DeMarcus.
Yeah, well, Marcus, what did you think of the trailer?
Look, I'm not. I mean, the fact that Black Ops has got the number, this is the 6th iteration, just makes me feel older and older.
Well, my favorite is Black Ops 2, so there you go. And they don't come out every year. There's 3 years between Black Ops. That's the crazy part.
I know. I said, this Call of Duty's never been my cup of tea. It is for a lot of people. But can
Marcus,
I just say,
every show I'm ever on, I am the only Call of Duty player. Literally, no matter what show I go on,
power to
who's
you.
there, I am the only Call of Duty player.
I mean, does that make you a filthy casual? I don't know.
That's one thing I am definitely not.
I know. So this is what I'm seeing for this holiday season. Download only Xbox, branded with Call of Duty Black Ops 6. There's going to be some sort of special map incentive to buy the pack or whatever, and that you combine those two things, and that's going to pull people from PlayStation.
Well, I thought one of the things that they said was that they're changing it, and there's going to be no exclusive releases for stuff going forward. I thought that was one of the bullet points, was that they were going to make sure everything is day and date on every single platform that Black Ops 6 launches for. Did I mishear that? I thought it's in my notes here anyway.
Because
remember, they were giving DLC to PlayStation early for a while. Remember?
Yeah, I don't trust them as far as I can throw them.
Who?
They have got Microsoft. I do not trust Microsoft as far as I can throw them. They have been very, very sneaky. They have been very, very duplicitous in a lot of stuff they've done. They've been pretty shitty, to be honest with you, for the last 12 months or so. Now they've got Call of Duty. They will have something up their sleeve that's unique to Xbox that will entice people to buy this digital-only unit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's their way in. That's their earworm. And I mean, look, if people are going to be excited for Black Ops 6. Warzone's going to be in it, apparently, which is supposed to be something that's very exciting. Zombies, again, I mean...
Treyarch are the kings of zombies. They're the ones who originally created the zombies mode.
I'll be interested to download and play campaign. You won't catch me on multiplayer because I have enjoyed some Call of Duty campaigns in the past. So it'll be nice to see this. And, bonus points for Prodigy.
I would love to see Pachter playing Call of Duty multiplayer.
I saw
that is a Let's Play stream I would watch.
I probably played the first 5 or 6 of them single player.
Yeah.
And then I guess what was not Black Ops, the one that Vince did, Modern Warfare. The first Modern Warfare, I tried playing that multiplayer, and my kill ratio is like 0.2.
Don't bother with that stuff anymore. Don't bother.
So I ended up trying to be a sniper so I could at least have a chance of killing some people.
Yeah, you just hang back and hope you could snipe a couple people before the match ended, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, it looks like it is a little odd, I think, that we don't have complete clarity on Call of Duty yet, and I understand they still have. I mean, its release date is what, October 25th, I think they said. They still have months here to promote the game. They probably want to keep some information close to the vest so they have something to talk about. I feel like the stuff that you're talking about, Pachter, though, they probably should have announced today. But to your point,
well, they may
they're negotiating it still. I don't think they have it locked down.
Yeah. And to be fair, I do think that any Xbox owner who otherwise would buy Call of Duty has to seriously look at Game Pass as an option. And Marcus said whatever, $15, $16. You're already paying $5 for Xbox Live Gold, which they don't call that anymore. But
yeah,
I've lost track of what they call anything. You're already paying $5 or $60 a year, so it's really only an incremental 120, and you get Call of Duty plus the other 14 topics you want to talk about today. So it's pretty compelling, and I got to say, looking at all I'm writing a note tomorrow. The title is Play It Day One. That's what this whole show was about.
Oh yeah.
So the idea that, they gave you enough variety of content. Everybody has two games. Every Call of Duty player has one other game that they really would like to play. So I think they're going to get 3 or 4 million incremental signups just from this one title. And that's 3 or 4 million copies they're not going to sell. Back to Marcus's point, will there be PlayStation owners who say, shoot, I'm going to get an Xbox and play Call of Duty and join Game Pass because there's 3 or 4 games I want to play there? Yeah, I think so. So I think that they're actually going to see a pretty nice spike in subscription. We'll see, how it plays out in the fall.
Still 49 million people playing PlayStation 4 that have not upgraded to a next-gen console. So to both your points, there's an opportunity there. We'll see. Let's move on and start talking about some of the other games. There are so many big games in this. It's hard to even rank them in order of importance, honestly. Bear with me here. We're going to start first with Doom, The Dark Ages. The brand new Doom is coming in 2025. People had... Again, this also leaked out that this kind of goes back to the beginning of what? Like, what is the beginning of time for Doom? I think it's like the beginning of, like, the Big Bang or something. I don't know. Like, Doom takes place in hell, and I don't know what a prequel looks like for Doom. But the one thing I did notice in the trailer is there's a brand new mechanic where you have this kind of crazy saw shield. It's this gun that works as a saw, then you can pop the blade off of it and then use it as a shield. And then you're kind of like Captain America a little bit. You can throw the shield, it will go past enemies, and then they can kind of like group in, and when it comes back, it saws them in half. Looked incredible. But maybe the bigger thing about the new Doom is it appears to be open world. There you can get on mounts, these crazy like dragons that you can fly around on now. I mean, this looks like a complete flip of the script for Doom. Marcus, what was your take on the new Doom?
Doom of Thrones, as I like to call it.
Yeah, the Dark Ages is what it's called. Doom, the Dark Ages.
Yeah, I'm just going to call it Doom of Thrones.
Okay.
The buzzsaw shield looked really cool. I like the skull grinding weapon, where it literally was grinding the skulls and then shooting out bits of shrapnel. That was beautiful. It's going to be interesting. They do have to expand Doom.
Did you like Doom Eternal, Marcus, with how it had that mechanic where you had to like constantly kill enemies in specific ways to either get your ammo or your health back? Did you like that whole rebounding mechanic?
I didn't play Doom Eternal. I've actually been playing a lot of Mighty Doom on the iPad recently. Yeah. And I'm so sorry to see that go, by the way. Bad form, Microsoft. But I will say that this one looks good. This one looks interesting. If it is a lot more wide open space, open world, I think that's going to be cool. But how do you manage it without... There's nothing worse wandering around a map with things respawning over and over while you're trying to figure out where the hell to go. The dragons, let's see how they handle it. Are they more for cinematic where they just fly you from map to map?
It has made open world games before, so it's not like it's out of the realm of possibility for that studio. So
yeah, it's just it's one of those things. We don't have enough information. It looks pretty. There's 2 cool weapons.
Gorgeous,
in it.
Man. That game is gorgeous.
I'm in. So
I would just say in general, all the games we just saw in that press event looked great. A lot of people, if you watch Digital Foundry will tell you the PlayStation 5 is generally a little more powerful than Xbox Series X. I mean, it's so negligible. But I think we're finally starting to see games on Xbox Series X that look as good as they should. Like Halo Infinite was not pushing Xbox Series X. Most of Microsoft's first-party games so far have not pushed the hardware. I think we're finally getting there. It probably should have happened 2 years ago at least. So that's encouraging to see.
Hellblade 2 dropped a couple of weeks ago. Look how beautiful that game is.
It is beautiful. Yeah.
That is the most beautiful tech engine waiting for a game that I've seen in a long time.
That's a good way to describe it. Pachter, it looks like the new Doom has more like heavier story elements. Do you think that's a good idea for Doom?
I last played Doom 3, and what was that, 2004?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I think there's a whole generation of people who've never even heard of Doom.
Yeah.
So I don't think you hurt yourself. I think that the 3 to 5 million hardcore fanboys who are going to buy it no matter what aren't going to be upset if there's a story element. And I think the 20 million people who've never heard of it are going to look at it, and it's going to be on Game Pass. So
I mean, we should just say right now, pretty much everything we're talking about in this show is Game Pass day one. Everything.
And so
almost everything.
I think what makes all this stuff interesting, and I think a lot of gamers forget this, is one of the things that makes a multiplayer experience fun is liquidity. that you want the 0.2 kill ratio guy in the game, so you have somebody kick the crap out of your 0.4.
Yep.
And but I'm not kidding,
No, you're right. Yeah.
And so I think you're going to get all these games on Game Pass, and you're going to get 20 million people trying all of them. And if I'm a Game Pass subscriber and it's free, I'm going to play it.
Yeah.
And so, what'll end up happening, it's just like free to play mobile. You get these giant audiences. Nobody knows who the whale is going to be. They don't care. They just want to get a lot of people playing. So I think that you're right about the graphics. I personally think there should be story in every game because I like RPG story games. I think every game that can do it should be open world because it's fun to say, hey, what's that mountain over there? I'm going to go check it out. It's fun. And so why not? And if you're a good enough studio, and it absolutely is, go for it. So,
Okay.
I mean, again, when we get to Fable, we'll have a difference of opinion because Marcus was drooling and I was laughing. So,
oh, wow. Well, I think we're all going to have a difference of opinion on that one, and we're about to get to it. But first, we're going to move on to the next Gears of War. Everyone thought it was going to be called Gear 6, and it was going to continue the saga of those younger sort of Gears that people weren't really resonating with. And instead, Microsoft yanked the carpet out from underneath everybody, and Gears of War E-Day is a prequel to the franchise where you follow Marcus Phoenix during Emergence Day, which is something that you only saw in cinematics in the first Gears of War. It had already happened and you were already into the fight. This shows you what happens before the first Gears of War. Is this a good idea, Pachter, to kind of ditch?
I think it's brilliant. Oh my God. I think it's brilliant. Yeah, I think what made Gears 1, 2, 3 so powerful is that it really was an interesting story and you actually cared. And it's okay. You've got to kill people off, but it's sort of like Star Wars, when you bring the prequel back, the Rogue One that sets up the story, it's actually really interesting. And if you're into the universe, you actually care. So I wasn't really kidding. I told my wife Marcus was on, and she said, Marcus Phoenix? No, she didn't. I told her Marcus Phoenix. But yeah, it's like as soon as I saw his face, I knew what it was. They didn't have to say.
Well, they had the big reveal of his face there, and the trailer was very clever, the way they did it.
I think it's quite compelling. And much like a Zelda story or much like a Mario story, you get the old school 50-year-old guy who comes back to play it, and you're going to get the new people who are going to find it really an interesting, compelling story. So I think they'll do a great job with it.
Marcus, do we need more Gears? Did you play the last couple Gears where they had the new cast? And I mean, I enjoyed the games, but I feel like I've kind of lost my affinity for Gears of War a little bit over the last 5 or 6 years. How do you feel about the franchise in general?
Gears 2 is my favorite of the
I think most people would agree with that. Yeah.
But the thing I will call out, I will say, and give them kudos on this, on the trailer, I thought it was perfect as a reveal trailer. And the strains, I don't know if you picked up the musical strains of Mad World that they used in that very first set of commercials for the original.
It has that similar tone to that Mad World trailer. Yeah.
Yeah, but the fact that you could actually hear the strains of that song coming through, I thought that was a marvelous touch. So kudos to whoever did the trailer. I was watching you on Game Face with Matt this week, and you were talking about what would be their reveal. Is it Halo coming to PlayStation 5? Yeah. And if I'd have been in on that conversation, this is what I would have said would have been the reveal. There would have been a new Gears. Taking it back to E-Day is incredibly smart because you're going to have people who are going to play this, and they'll probably enjoy it because, let's face it, it is a classic franchise. And then they've got this entire collection to go and play with. And I think it'll be interesting to see if with the E-Day game, if it's going to lead to Gears 1 and 2 in particular being remastered, being upgraded, the gameplay mechanics being finessed to fit into E-Day. So all of a sudden you've got a new trilogy. Maybe you put Gears 3 in there as well, so you've got a quadrology. I think it's smart. That is my second favorite reveal of the Xbox press conference.
Good way to end it too.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the trailer was great. I do feel like the cachet for the franchise has dissipated over the last half decade or so, but I do feel like this was the only way forward first of all, you need to make sure that the games focus on the characters that people care about, like Marcus Phoenix going forward. How else can you do that? Because those characters were still incorporated into the stories from the last couple Gears. It's not like they disappeared and you didn't know what happened to them, which is how you sometimes go back to old characters. So the only way you can do it is a prequel. And as Marcus said, maybe do some remasters or remakes of the first couple. I think that's the way forward for Gears. And I agree. I think it was a smart decision to handle things the way they did. And a good closer, as you said, Pack.
You are going to get a bunch of people playing with their kids.
Gears,
a bunch of people. No,
chainsaw bayonet right through the sternum.
No, I mean it's people who played Gears in their early 40s, and maybe had a 5-year-old kid, and now their kid is 15, 16, and it's like, sit with me. Well, let's play co-op. This is the game I used to play. But yeah, I mean it is. I mean, look.
No, you're right.
I will say to you, you talk about the cachet being diminished over the past half decade, but much like this show and the cast of this particular show, never write out an never mark down an oldie, never can count us out. All us oldies are coming back, so fucking enjoy it.
Well, we're the only ones buying games anymore, apparently.
Well, nobody's buying it.
Yeah. We had that era of Nintendads when the Wii came out, and all these Game Boy owners and NES owners, starting having kids, bought a Wii and played with their kids. I think Marcus was spot on. We've been waiting for the franchise that actually made that make sense on Xbox. PlayStation's probably had a couple of them that made sense for parents to play with their kids. Little Big Planet. But this is the first time that a hardcore Xbox, first Xbox owner has a game that he played 20 years ago and it comes out. You can play that with your kids. I agree with Marcus.
Okay. Next up, a game that I never dreamed we were going to see at this press event because there had been tons of rumors swirling that it was in trouble. The game is under development by Crystal Dynamics, and they said that they had brought the initiative in to help on the development of the game. All things were pointing to the game possibly being canceled, in all honesty. And out of nowhere, we get a gameplay trailer for the new Perfect Dark. And here's the crazy thing. It actually looks kind of freaking good. Marcus, what did you think of Joanna Dark's debut on Xbox Series X?
She's back, baby.
Yeah.
Back, baby. I do think that Microsoft hit a lot of good points for us old people. Us early adopters who had Xbox Ones, the original Xboxes and everything in between. I think the great game looks great. Loved the voice acting. Was that Haley Atwell?
I think so.
Yeah,
not 100% sure on that, but it sounded like it.
Looks great. Nice twist. It's Perfect Dark. We've been wanting a really good Perfect Dark game. Well,
this one seems insane. It's like she goes to some alternate reality or something. It seems like it's one of those dual world games where she has parts of the game that's in the real world that we live in, and then she crosses some kind of gateway and goes into some other, I don't even know what's going on, like a parallel universe or something.
It could be that to do with more with mind brainwashing, because she gets hacked and she gets shown the true state of things. So maybe she has been captured and her head messed with, and now she's seeing this world, the perfect 23-degree weather, blah blah blah, and what it's actually like is something totally different.
Yeah. Is there any coming back from Perfect Dark Zero, Pack? I mean, that game was a launch game. People were very excited for it, and it ended up being pretty abysmal.
I didn't play it, and I have to say, I think I played. Was it Rare that did it on the N64?
Rare is the original developer of Perfect Dark.
So I remember that game, and obviously this game looks nothing like it. And I remember looking at Perfect Dark Zero, reading the average Metacritic of 59 or whatever, and just thinking, pass. And I had it free. I mean, I had the disc, but I was just like, pass. So I have not played a Rare game. What was it? Grabbed by the Ghoulies? Conker's Bad Fur.
Grabbed by the Ghoulies came after Conker.
Yeah, they just were so bad. So I just wrote them off. Mm-hmm. And that's why this game, I had no idea it was Perfect Dark until they showed it at the end.
I knew it immedientely. I can just tell by the music and the Datadyne logo, and I'm a big Perfect Dark fan.
I'm 27 years from playing a Perfect Dark game. I don't even remember it. So yeah, it really surprised me, and I like Crystal Dynamics. I think they're capable.
Me too. I agree with that. Now they haven't made typically a lot of first person shooters in the past, but they've made really high quality games in the past.
Right.
So I have faith in them. There were a couple things in that trailer that looked a little off. Like there's one scene where she shoots some guy and he kind of like jumps back through like the railing. I don't know. Watching the trailer, there's a couple things that I was like, that looked a little weird. But I mean, they showed a ton of gameplay in that. And so the first trailer they put out for it was basically just cinematic whatever. It was nothing. So for the first real trailer for Perfect Dark, one, I was surprised that they showed so much gameplay, and two, I was really impressed with how it looked, having known about the development challenges it has had so far. So I think an auspicious debut for Perfect Dark. No release date for that. Most of the stuff that we saw was like 2025. There's a couple of exceptions of games that are coming out this year, but most of the stuff we're talking about from this press conference, most of the games are coming out in 2025. So just kind of keep that in mind. Let's move on to a game we already established we have conflicting opinions on, and that is Fable. Now, Pachter, you said you were not impressed with Fable, and I'm just going to tell you right now, I agree with Marcus. So we're going to give you the floor first to explain why you were not impressed with Fable.
I hated the Lionhead Fables. I hated them. And so just not my kind of game. And Lionhead, I guess, is not making this one, right? I don't even know. I didn't see
Lionhead doesn't exist anymore.
Right, they don't exist anymore, right? Yeah. So sure, this might be fun and might be good. I just hated both those games. So I don't care. And to me,
you don't like swords and sorcery stuff either, really.
I don't. If we get to Dragon Age, I didn't care about that either. But to be fair, like this looks like a first-rate, high-quality game. It's just a setting that I don't care about, a genre I don't care about. And this was the one where the people were talking in the bar. That was Fable, right? I'm trying to remember what I saw.
Yeah,
and then the guy dropped the chandelier.
He's like she's telling him the story about this woman, this girl that terrorized them. And then at the end, she's like, and she's back.
It looked good, but again, it's Fable, so I don't care about it. And I know Marcus was drooling about it, so that's why I was laughing. But that's what makes gaming great.
Yeah.
Everything isn't for everybody.
Well, I think that's what's great about this press conference in particular. Yes. In the past, Xbox, it was like either you liked it or you didn't. But this one had so many great games that like it's okay, Pachter, that you didn't like Fable because there was 14 other awesome games. That's not been the case with Xbox for a long time.
I think the analogy is like HBO, right? Like some people don't watch Curb Your Enthusiasm because they don't get it. Mm-hmm. Some people like me don't watch True Blood or Euphoria because it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
But they're all immensely popular. Mm-hmm. And so you'll have something that appeals to one set of, viewers and another that appeals to another, and they'll overlap. And so we'll all find 4 or 5 or 7 things we want to watch on HBO. That's what this press conference was. I found, you're asking 15. I saw 5 to 10 that I really want to play.
Yeah, so that's great.
That's enough for me to spend $15 a month.
Yeah. Marcus, what did you see about Fable that impressed you?
First of all, Fable is right up there in my top 3 all-time trilogy. Even the first one, Chicken Kicker.
Even though it failed to deliver on pretty much everything he had promised, Peter Molyneux.
Matter. I mean, they refined it with Fable 2 and then refined it again with Fable 3, which were absolute epics, high on replayability. Now, obviously, I am a little bit biased because it's that quintessential British sense of humor.
It has
where you see Albion. I mean, when I tweeted out Fable, needs more Stephen Fry. It does. Stephen Fry was synonymous, especially with the last 2 Fable games.
Yeah.
But graphically, it looks like the old Fable games, but again, finessed, upgraded, 4K. Fantastic.
How about that shot where they show Albion, the open world, for the first time? My eyes were like, boing! I was like, holy shit, man.
So looking forward to seeing this. And again, I want to see how this fits, if it's a brand new story, if it follows on from Fable 3. I would love to see that. I hope that they've got the care and respect for the franchise where they take a number of the mechanics from 2 and 3 and make sure those are implemented in, because you get to certain points, especially Fable 3, where the world changes.
Yeah.
You make a decision and the world changes. And I want to see that. I want to see that version of Albion. Don't come at me and tell me it's going to be a multiplayer game like Skull and Bones, probably
I don't think so.
Sea of Dogs or whatever the hell it's called. Keep it quintessentially British. Have the quality voice acting. We've had Stephen Fry, Zoe Wanamaker in the past. Let's keep them coming. Give us the decisions. Give us that trademark bit of humor, the little bit of saucy Benny Hill style, hey, oh, look at you, aren't you gorgeous, love, and he smacks someone. Yeah, give me all of that. I don't want to wait till 2025 to play it, but if they are going to make it 2025, make it like January the 1st.
Now, one of my predictions for this event was that they would show more Fable, and that it would either come out before the end of the year or in the first quarter of 2025. So I'm still holding out hope that a little bit of my predictions are right. Marcus, what I would say is I agree with everything that you said, but I think what really struck me is they showed all the different types of gameplay that's going to be involved. And don't forget, the last trailer for this showed this crazy big, like small person, gigantic world element of the game where there's this giant that you're interacting with. Don't forget about that. There's like a Jack and the Beanstalk element to this game as well. So
I wouldn't be surprised if that's gone.
You think they took it out, you think?
I don't know. I mean, this felt like more traditional Fable to me, not somebody who's like, oh, we're going to make our name. We're going to totally take the game and throw the old stuff out and do all this stuff. What I took from it is being able to combine spells and weaponry, being able to hit somebody with a levitation spell and then hit them with a bow and arrow. I got the walking around the towns, interacting with people. I want to be able to buy houses. I want to start commerce. I want to start getting that money in. I want to play like an absolute bastard because much like Dungeon Keeper, which is another, Bullfrog, Pete Molyneux, Genius-y type game. I love being able to do these things in games and do it in a way that just feels fun and silly and very sort of like if you watch Blackadder, that series, have that mentality about it. So I think this is going to, I feel so much better. They said it was in-game footage.
It was for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to learning more, but I'm also looking forward to not learning a bloody thing until it launches and then just installing it and losing 3 months of my life.
I'll just say right now, and look, I haven't played the game, but looking at the in-engine footage in that trailer, I think it might be the best looking video game ever made. I'm not exaggerating. And to your point earlier, Pack, about Hellblade 2, and Marcus was talking about Hellblade 2, to me, that's like the best looking video game in the world right now. And so as I was saying earlier, you're starting to see Xbox Series X here starting to flex its muscles a little bit, showing off some stuff that really writes to the metal on that hardware, and I think we're starting to see results. So I am very excited for Fable. It's shot right up my most anticipated list as one of the top maybe 5 games of all games right now that I'm excited to play. So I think overall a very good showing for the next Fable. Again, coming in 2025, no specific date. A lot of games in this are also the same. Next up, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. We have been fortunate enough to see a good bit of this game already. The last gameplay trailer that they released for it was like 5 or 7 minutes long. We get to see a big chunk of the game. They've talked about the game a lot. This time, they literally just showed us a chunk of gameplay. They are like, this is how it's going to play. This is how the sequence of events are going to happen. This is how you go from one mission to the next. Pac, what kind of stood out for you for the Indiana Jones game from Bethesda?
I think probably the most important thing is that you're getting licenses from Disney that are showing a great deal of trust in the studio and the platform. Disney, as you all know, they've got some pretty competent game people there to kind of oversee the IP and make sure that it doesn't get screwed up. And they're really picky on console about who they entrust. So it really did look good. And I think that's what's really important. So again, the brand itself is not as powerful as Star Wars. It's not as powerful as most Marvel brands. It is among geezers. We've had one Indiana Jones movie in the last 30 years.
Well, there's been 2,
Harrison Ford, whatever we think of Harrison Ford, he's the voice actor and the image, but it's him when he's 35, not when he's 80.
Which is pretty amazing how they've done that, I think.
Really, really well done. Yeah. And the gameplay, to me, it's a male version of Lara Croft. So it looks great. It's going to play well. People are going to really like the game. But I think the more important thing is Disney trusts them. And if Disney trusts them, I wouldn't be surprised if there's Marvel games and Star Wars games behind this. And that's probably the biggest of all the takeaways. You start thinking about playing that stuff on Game Pass. That matters.
Marcus, what did you think of this look at Indiana Jones and the Great Circle?
I think if any developer was made to make an Indiana Jones game, it's Machine Games.
Yeah.
After what they did with the Wolfenstein reboots and brought, especially the second Wolfenstein game, which was just one of my favorite titles of all time. It's looked better than the last two films. It looked, there were no crystal skulls and there were no Dial of Destiny.
That's a very low bar, Marcus.
But I mean, that's actually, perhaps this is the way it should have gone. Maybe we shouldn't have had these movies. But it looks to have all the charm and swagger and action and comic beats of that original classic trilogy, where we had that in Raiders and we had that especially in Last Crusade. Hearing the voice of Denholm Elliott. I mean, I'm hoping we're going to,
yeah. I
mean, we're gonna have obviously a younger Harrison Ford. I think it looks fantastic. I think it's going to be Xbox's answer to Uncharted.
Even though Uncharted it seems to be done now, it doesn't seem like PlayStation doesn't even care about Uncharted anymore, or Naughty Dog for that matter.
Well, it just drops into what Pac was saying earlier. There's something for everyone. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there are a bunch of us oldies who remember Raiders and remember Last Crusade and remember Temple of Doom and really enjoyed those movies. If not, we didn't enjoy the inherent racism in some of them. But if this feels like an episode of that, this feels like something that can fit between the movies and inspired me to the movies. And I know that Bethesda has Blade as well.
Yeah,
from the Marvel universe.
Right.
So if Blade is half as good as this looks, then we're in for something really, really funky with that one as well. But this, one of my most anticipated for this calendar year. I will download it day one. I pay for my Game Pass. I don't buy games very often anymore. So Microsoft,
a lot of people don't have to. That's kind of the problem.
Microsoft is wrecking retail.
Yeah. Can I point out every single thing we've talked about so far is retro? Yeah. Everything we talk about. Call of Duty is a 20-year-old brand. Gears is a 20-year-old brand. Indiana Jones is a 35, 40-year-old brand. And Blade is a 25-year-old brand. And it is amazing, but I think that's Microsoft's push. And so I really do think, Marcus, you're onto something. The Nintendo dads, let's get the Xbox dads, let's get those guys. And if you look at the average Xbox player right now, they're still in their 20s.
I'm surprised to hear that, actually.
I think they're maybe 30, but I just think that they're going to age up. There's going to be parents in their 40s and 50s who play with kids in their teens and 20s, and I think bringing back all this retro stuff, but modern twist. Fable is a 20-year-old brand. Mm-hmm. Every one of these brands we're talking about is a 20-year-old brand. It's smart, really, really smart.
Yeah, and because you're bridging the generations.
About brand new IP, which exists, but Southern Comfort, whatever it's called, but that which looked interesting. But that there's brand new IP too, and we're going to get there, I'm sure. Yeah. But this retro kick, it matters. It's going to sell Game Pass subscriptions and probably sell consoles.
Yep. I agree. I think Indiana Jones looks really good. My big concern is that it's kind of a throwback game. You don't see a lot of games anymore that try to do everything. So it has adventuring, it has puzzle solving where you're solving the crypts. It has like air combat, it has combat with the whip. Most games, I mean, even Machine Games, who's working on the game, they just usually make first-person shooters. So I'm a little concerned that it may be a little bit out of its depths in some of the stuff, but my hopes obviously are pinned on the idea that they are now working under the purview of Microsoft, and Microsoft's not going to allow them to release something that's not up to scratch. So I'm excited for it, a little bit nervous about it. Also, we got a 2024 release date for that, but no specific date, which I thought was a little weird. You think there's a chance maybe that it still gets delayed?
Sure.
I think it's coming out this year, because if you look at after Call of Duty, which is Call of Duty is what, October?
Mm-hmm. October 25th,
yeah. I think if they're ready to ship it, it'll be September. I think it'll be September. Yeah, I think so, and I don't see why it shouldn't. And I will say, the rise of the Xbox dads, etc., etc. The other thing is there are people who had Xboxes who's put the first generation, and then put them away because they had kids and they had families and blah, blah, blah. And now they will come back to gaming just because of all these franchises that we have talked about with Gears, with Fable, Indiana Jones. It may not have the cachet that it used to with a Gen Z and Gen Y, but the Gen Xers, the kids are out the door. I've got time to get a downloadable box and get back into video games. And I think this is great because the rise of the gray gamer is something that has not really been monetized by the console companies. You got your hardcore
It's never
Nintendo
happened before.
fans.
We're the first generation of
We
gray
are the
gamers.
first generation. Yeah, we are the first generation to come all the way through.
Yeah,
and
we are.
What I've noticed is for the last 5 or 6 years in particular, we've been put in a corner. It's like, we don't want your money. Well, guess what? I've got more frigging disposable income than Gen Y and Gen Z combined right now because I don't have kids. I mean, look at all the nerd shit behind me. We have this stuff and we will do this and we will go and play. And I think that Microsoft, however, inadvertently have recognized there was a gap in the market, and through the acquisitions, more luck than judgment probably, have these great franchises with cachet, these legacy franchises from our childhood that are going to just suck us in and keep us paying $15 a month. More power to them.
Let's move on. We're going to talk a little bit about third-party games finally. There were a couple, although most of the stuff in this was first-party stuff that Microsoft is at least working on a little bit. There were a couple big third-party games, none bigger than Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, this game, after it was debuted by Ubisoft not long ago, has had some uproar online. There's racist people saying they don't like the Black Samurai. We're not going to get into that right here. We've already talked about that for like an hour on Game Face. However, I did note that the trailer that they showed for this, which was mostly a gameplay trailer, was almost all focused on the female Asian ninja character instead of the black character. Now, this could have been all part of the plan all along. I'm not saying that there's something funky going on here, and Ubisoft was like, hey, maybe we should roll out that trailer of the girl instead of the trailer of the Black Samurai. A little convenient, I would say, but overall, I thought the game looked really good. What say you, Marcus?
I'm with you. I also think that we have Ubisoft Connect tomorrow, and we will see a lot more.
We'll see a big chunk of gameplay tomorrow, I think.
Yeah,
like
and
10,
I think
12 minutes.
The people who are complaining about the Black Samurai are the ones who are going to complain about the girl ninja.
I know. Well, a lot of the complaints I saw, they're like, well, they try to say, I'm not racist. I just wanted to see like an Asian protagonist because that makes sense to me. There is one, but it's a woman.
Just go watch fucking Shogun. That's what these people need to do. Go watch Shogun and Tokyo Vice and Blue Eyed Samurai on Netflix and just soak all that up and enjoy the diversity and the traditional and how it mixes. The shrinky dicks, as I like to call them, or shrivel dicks, if you will, they can go and do one. This looks great. I actually bought Assassin's Creed Mirage yesterday because it was on sale for $25 and I had a Best Buy gift card. So I actually have that to play now on PS5. But I am looking forward to this. We've all wanted to go to the Far East, to Japan, to Asia.
We've been asking for it for like a decade.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be huge. I'm looking forward to seeing more tomorrow, and then I'm looking forward to not looking at anything again until it drops. I have faith that Ubisoft can actually execute this one. It's funny, I was actually watching an old AG last week where we talked about
Annoyed Gamer, by the way, for those inclined.
Yeah, there it is. There's the logo.
Awesome.
But I talked about Ubisoft needing to give their franchises 2 or 3 year gaps, not every year. And since they have been giving those gaps, I am so into Assassin's Creed.
The games have got better.
Valhalla.
They've gotten a lot bigger. Great. Almost too big.
So Valhalla was too big.
Yeah.
But still so enjoyable. Enjoyable. So yeah, sign me up. Really, really good third-party showing from what Microsoft had to show, and Ubisoft nailed it.
What did you think of it, Pack?
Same. I mean, I have Valhalla and haven't played it yet. I'm way behind on playing Assassin's Creeds, and the last one I played prior to this is Black Flag. And to be honest, like I found a movie. There's a movie called Black Samurai, which is like a kind of a Bruce Lee age 1970s movie with the guy that was in Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee as the samurai. But apparently, like, the worst movie ever made, but worst martial arts movie ever made. But I mean, that's been around for 40 years. That's the reason I pointed out. I think what they're doing, which I really do think is interesting, is they're kind of taking For Honor and then deconstructing it into Valhalla and now into Shadow. You know, they're breaking up the components of that, and I think they could do another For Honor mashup of Assassin's Creed characters. That might be an interesting game. So I think that they're starting to exploit their IP library, and I think that's really smart. What's really interesting to me is, you know, Microsoft's going to license all the Activision Blizzard content from Ubisoft once they figure out that they can license Activision Blizzard catalog and get paid for streaming. Why don't they do the same thing with Assassin's Creed catalog? And they will. You know, so I actually took this announcement today as a reinforcement that Ubisoft and Microsoft have a strong relationship and that they really like each other, you know, as opposed to anybody else, you know, showing up for no reason. I think that it's, again, another thing that makes Game Pass more compelling. But yes, I'm going to play Assassin's Creed this year just because I think it's a fascinating topic.
Yep. And again, we'll be discussing Ubisoft's press conference that's happening tomorrow afternoon. So we'll probably talk a lot more about Assassin's Creed Shadows then, but I think this trailer was great. Everything I've seen of the game so far looks amazing. I think people are going to be blown away by what they see tomorrow when we get that big 10-minute, 12-minute chunk of gameplay. So something to look forward to tomorrow. Another third-party game that was shown, and this game was really kind of shown for the first time. We have trailers for it, but they didn't reveal much. And that is Dragon Age: The Veilguard, formerly called Dragon Age 4, formerly called Dragon Age Dreadwolf. And this is now the third title for this game. As I said, there are several trailers out for it, but they didn't really show anything. Like, they'd hint at the plot, they'd show some environments. This is the first time we've seen the game. And I'll just say this, I got to see some early development footage of this game about a year and a half ago, and it scared the living crap out of me. It looked so bad. Oh, wow. This game looks awesome in engine. I was pleasantly surprised by this. What did you think of it, Pachter?
More surprising to me that it's coming this year.
Yeah.
Because EA has been pretty downcast the last 2 years about having nothing in the fall.
Yeah,
except,
it's not releasing games anymore other than its sports
FIFA,
games.
I mean, Football Club. Yeah, so Madden and Football Club are their games, but they haven't had anything from any studio. And, you know, we got a big announcement today, and it's this year. So I think that makes me have much more confidence. I was kind of wondering what happened, you know, to the BioWare studios. They made, did they make Anthem? Yeah, they made Anthem. That was just terrible, you know. And then since
Mass Effect Andromeda, don't forget, people didn't like that either. I liked it, but a lot of people didn't. So
they've just been quiet and dead, you know, ever since. And Matt Bromberg, as you know, is now at Unity, so he left. And I really wasn't sure what was going on at the studio. So I'm glad to see that they've got their act together. They're putting really high quality stuff together. And again, they kept a pretty good secret that this thing was launching this year, because none of us expected it for this year.
Yeah. I was also, there had been rumors circulating about a month or two ago that it was going to come out this year. I didn't believe it, though. I think it came from...
Or did I know? They just said, they literally 4 weeks ago said, we got nothing this fall.
Yeah, I think Giant Bomb's Jeff Grubb had broken that it was coming this year. And I think most people doubted him. They were like, I don't know, man. That seems far-fetched, because we hadn't seen
they said it.
Of
in so many
footage.
Words, they said no. Yeah,
but
they
he was
said
right.
Not coming.
He had the scoop, and he got it right, and it is coming this year. And then most of the trailer just showed off the classes that are going to be in the game. Marcus, what struck you about the Dragon Age trailer?
First of all, I want to thank whoever made the trailer and whoever's making the game for not making the dwarf Scottish. Because if I see one more little ginger dwarf in the game going, ugh, I need a beer, I will absolutely throttle somebody. So well done for departing that particular trope. I got to say, Dragon Age Origins, again, one of my favorite games, something I've actually replayed again because of Games Pass. This one, I didn't like the name change. I think Veilguard, not exactly interesting.
Did you like Dreadwolf or just Dragon Age 4?
I kind of like Dreadwolf.
Okay.
But, you know, hey, it's a title. What are you going to do?
Well, they said they wanted to focus on your allies instead of your enemies in the title. That was why they changed it. I don't know.
Well, on the subject of allies, they obviously unveiled a whole lot of allies, various
Mm-hmm.
different ones from necromancers all the way, all the way through to mage killers, which looks
Mm-hmm.
really interesting. I do hope that they let you increase the party size from 3.
Yeah.
I would like to have bigger parties in these games.
Like how big you
And
talking? 4 or like way more?
I would say to have 4 people or maybe 5 in your party. That would be great because it really can give you a sense of epic
Oh, yeah.
journey. I mean, that's Lord of the Rings type shit.
I mean, I get that
So
feeling in every co-op game where you start a mission and everybody's running in the same direction. You see all your teammates running just ahead of you and you're like charging into battle together. I get like a feeling out of that. I don't know if you guys feel that way, but like every co-op game I play, when the match starts or when the level starts and we're all running in the same direction for a common goal, it makes me feel good. Like I like that feeling that I get from it.
I have to say, my favorite party size is 4. And Left 4 Dead is probably my favorite co-op game ever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because even always being the worst player in the game, I could flank the best player in the game and I would kill the 1 out of 10 that he didn't get and keep him alive.
Cleanup crew.
And he got everybody who came near me. So it just, there's always a place in, I think 4-person is really ideal for co-op. I love that. But I hate Dragon Age, so I won't play it.
Yeah.
So let me just say, I won't be playing this co-op.
You'll be playing it by yourself?
I'll be playing it by myself. I have no interest. I have no interest in playing it. I want to play with AI. I want to explore their characters, have relationships with them, like you did in the first Dragon Age.
So you're saying you want the party with you. You just want the computer to control it instead of humans.
I won't be able to tell them what to do. I want to dictate much exactly like you did in Origins, but with slightly more players.
So I had Marcus. I had an investor just ask me what I thought of AI in games that made NPCs sentient and they could actually anticipate what you were going to ask them. And I go, okay, name all the games where you're playing single player and there's NPCs in there that you want to interact with and you want to be surprised at what they say. This is one. Okay. Yeah. Now name another. I mean,
because there aren't any.
No, but there are guys who are coming up with this.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. It's going to absolutely happen. So, what they'll do is modify all these co-op games to let you play single player as if you're playing with real people, which will make it fun. I agree with you.
Well, I think if they're ultimately sentient, it'll be a much bigger deal than just video games. Like that's when the world ends, I think, man. When the robots and the computers become sentient, that's when we die. So
what was it called? What net in Terminator?
Skynet.
Yeah.
There you go. So let me just finish off by saying I am sick to the back teeth of 5x5 co-op. Every freaking game that we've seen, or almost every game that we've seen over the last 3 days, has been 5x5 co-op. Oh, look at this 3x3 co-op. Yeah. I really don't give a shit. I'm rejoicing in the games that are coming in, the ones that are my favorites, the ones I look forward to, being single player experiences. Like Pac said earlier when we were talking about Blop 6. This is what games were all about. Yes, it's great to go and play with your friends, but more often than not, people don't have time to schedule playing with their friends, or if they play with strangers, those strangers are absolute dick munchers.
Jerks,
and so to have these experiences and to have this single player and have it in a Dragon Age game where you've got this new huge cast, but if you're only allowed to have 2 or 3 of them with you, that is just no. I want those bigger experiences. I want that in single player. Everybody else can screw off. I like games because they're antisocial. So.
Well, one thing to point out here is that Microsoft had the pick of the litter because there was no real PlayStation press conference. There's no real Nintendo press conference. I mean, it looks like they got all the big third-party games from Keighley. They got the 2 biggest ones. They got Assassin's Creed and they got Dragon Age.
Gears.
Gears isn't multiplayer.
I'm sorry, no, Solid Snake.
Metal Gear.
Metal Gear. Sorry,
we're about to get to that one here in a couple games, but I mean, Mike, that's a big reason why this presser is so amazing because it had no competition for the content other than Keighley.
They took the free hit and have really just they unzipped and slapped it around.
Okay, up next,
I
State of
have no
Decay
idea what
3.
you mean.
Here's a game that I did not think we were going to see, State of Decay 3. We already had one trailer for it that was a cinematic trailer. Usually the way it goes is you get the cinematic trailer for the debut trailer, then you get the gameplay trailer, which shows in-engine footage of the game. It's usually cut together cinematically, but you still get to see what the game actually looks like. In this case, we got a second trailer for State of Decay 3 that was also a cinematic trailer. That hardly ever happens anymore. To me, that does not portend that the game is anywhere near release, and I didn't think it was, because this team typically takes a while to make games, and then when they do release them, they're usually a buggy mess. So from my perspective, I'm just saying, Undead Labs, take your time. I think this trailer may have been a tease for people, and the game isn't anywhere near release. Marcus, what do you think about the State of Decay franchise? Do you play it?
All right, so on my list, I actually made an email list of every game with my comments, and next to State of Decay 3, it says shrug.
Yeah.
And that's all I've
Yeah.
got for it, because I tried playing State of Decay, not my cup of tea. There are people who love it, fine, but
they usually launch broken, like completely broken, and then they fix them as they go.
Like it's generic zombie shooter gameplay trailer.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could have AI create a trailer that's like zombie, multiplayer, diverse cast, car, somebody dies, cute little toy, boom,
bridge standoff.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, the other thing, like a lot of times when you have these trailers that are cinematic and don't really show off the game, they introduce like elements of the game. Like, hey, we have this new mechanic, and we're not going to show it actually working inside the game, but we're going to show you cinematically what it is. But this had nothing. Like, it was just like, yeah, it's another State of Decay. So, Pachter, have you ever played a State of Decay game?
I have not, but I have to say that, one of the things I really love about the games industry is there's always a first. I'm still waiting for the first military first-person shooter, and I'm waiting for the first zombie shooter games to come out, because we've never had one before, and we're way overdue. It's really a long-standing joke that someone says, "Oh, this is the next Call of Duty," and oh,
Call
by the
of
way,
Duty killer. Yeah.
Call of Duty has zombies too, and so did Wolfenstein. Remember that? So it's just like, do we need another zombie game? And if we're gonna make one, call it The Walking Dead. Like, I'm just
this one is a little different, Pachter. It's an open world zombie game, and there's like survival elements to it where you're building like your homestead. I know I'm not a huge fan of it either, but it is a little bit different than most zombie games, at least.
And even games like Resident Evil, which isn't zombies, but it's zombie light. It's sort of like
zombies. Some of them are
it's just
zombies.
like infected in a different way. The Last of Us,
bioweapon, whatever.
They aren't really zombies, but they are kind of. It's just like, God, how many of these can we take? And I get it. State of Decay is popular, and it's got its audience, but no, we don't need more of those. So I don't care. I'm kind of with Marcus on the shrug, with a capital S instead of a small s.
Okay, next up is another first-party game from Microsoft that is also coming out this year, but also just got the generic 2024 release date, and that is a first-person magic casting action-adventure game called Avowed. They released a story trailer today where we finally got to see the lead character's face, because they've put out like 5 trailers for this game, but it's a first-person game. They haven't actually shown like the character that you're playing as until today. They also showed other characters and people talking. This is very new for Avowed. They haven't really shown anything like this so far. Did it intrigue you at all, Pachter?
I might have taken a potty break during that.
You missed Avowed?
No, I didn't. I didn't pay attention.
Did you tune out while it was on?
Zero interest. Yeah, I didn't pay attention.
Have you ever played like a first person magic casting type thing where it's a first person shooter, but you're shooting magic instead of bullets?
Yeah, I played one like 2 years ago. If you name it, I'll remember it. But no, and it was actually pretty good. But anyway, no, I don't. It's not my thing.
Not something you seek out. What did you think of it, Marcus?
My note reads ambivalent.
Yeah, it does feel like a very generic fantasy game.
It feels like something from 15 years ago.
It's coming from Obsidian too, which, maybe that adds a little cachet to it. But
look, I mean, I love Obsidian. They have made some of the greatest games that I have played. I mean, Fallout New Vegas, South Park, the Stick of was it the Fractured
Stick of Truth?
Well, Stick of Truth was the first
Fractured
one.
Butthole
Was that was the second one? But that is the only thing that's going to pull me into this, is the fact that it's an Oblivion game.
Yeah.
And
Again, it is
Obsidian,
coming this
Obsidian
year.
game. Obsidian game.
And
And it's
remember-
on Games Pass. So I
And
will
remember
download it.
that this year's Fallout TV series, the next season is Vegas. It's New Vegas. So
Yeah.
I think that Obsidian's going to have kind of a big revival, and people are going to care. They'll get a lot of press when that comes out. And that, I don't know if you watched season 1, but it was outstanding. And so I'm sure season 2 will be outstanding. Yeah. So
It's incredible.
Same. Like, I like them in general, and I would normally play their stuff, but like, I didn't play Outer Worlds more than about 2 hours. It was good,
Yeah.
but it
Outer
didn't.
Worlds was fantastic. I mean,
I
but
finished it. It was short.
it was a
nice to
great
play a
Fallout
game like
game that
that
wasn't
wasn't
Fallout.
50 hours long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't hook me.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, I would love to. I mean, when Avowed comes out, and obviously, like I said, I'll try it. I am so hoping that Obsidian gets moved on to Fallout New Vegas too,
Okay.
because that's what I'd like to see.
Okay, well,
Same.
here to me is one of the most pleasant surprises from this Xbox showcase. I was kind of blown away by this. The first real huge expansion for Starfield, called Starfield Shattered Space. Oh my God, it looks way better than the base game. I'm like, this is what Starfield should have been. Like, the other game, I like it fine. I really enjoyed Starfield, but it's like, if you watched the trailers for it, it was always so serene and like passive. Like, it didn't feel like there was a lot of action in the game if you had just watched the promotion. And it just didn't seem all that interesting. It's like, yeah, you're out in space, and there's a couple creatures like scurrying across the planet's surface. Like, this is what I think it should have been all along. Just way more action-packed, way more sci-fi, way more avant-garde and off the wall. I watched this trailer. I played Starfield for like 50 hours. I was like, is this the same game? I was like, hot damn, this is what I thought Starfield was going to be. Pachter, what did you think of Shattered Space?
I think this shows you that if you take these games that are kind of ongoing on Game Pass, you can fix them and build on them. And so we've seen that with Fallout 76, and that's kind of how the show started today. That they're going to do a big expansion, and that is going to bring a lot of people back. Starfield had that big spike when it first launched. Now I think everybody on Game Pass will start hearing about it with the expansion and say, oh, I got to bring that back. I got to try it again. Mm-hmm. So I actually think Bethesda is going to grow an audience for Starfield. And the number
over time, you mean?
In the Fallout 76 trailer, they said 17 million players. They didn't. I don't think they intended to reveal that, but it was like that. I was that many people are playing it.
That's all the TV show, by the way. That's all the TV show,
right?
Yeah.
And so I actually think, and I wouldn't be surprised if you got a Starfield TV show. Maybe not in a year.
No, I agree. Yeah.
So no, I thought it looked great too, but I haven't played the beginning Starfield. I haven't tried it. Because it just, people didn't like it enough for me to waste my time. I probably will pick it up with Game Pass when the expansion comes out.
Marcus, this is the first time I'm talking to you about Starfield. What did you think of it?
Starfield started off strong and then just fell off a fucking cliff. I've got nothing but respect for Todd Howard and the Bethesda Game Studios crew, but I got to say this was a flaccid game.
That's what what I'm saying. It felt so passive, the whole game.
And look, I've got the controller. I've got the special edition back there.
You wanted to believe.
I wanted to believe. And, it's the thing I can hope is that they have been following the No Man's Sky playbook, because that game came out and was like, and look at it now. They've evolved it. And that's what they need to do with this. They've said they're dropping a bunch of new content tonight. We're talking.
That's right. There's content tonight. Shadow drop.
New content, new weapons.
Yeah.
There's new quests coming in. The thing we want to see in this expansion, and they didn't mention, is ground vehicles. We need aliens. Lots of aliens. Aliens who are sentient to talk to. We really need to Star Trek the shit out of this.
Yeah.
They need to be better with the construction. The ship design is awful. I mean, Starfield at present is nothing but a mediocre game. Starfield, when you look at all the mods, starts to really show potential.
It does, yeah. But you have to be a PC player to enjoy that. So
which absolutely sucks for anybody who's not playing on PC. But they missed so many opportunities. Todd can tell a good story. I just don't think. I think he peaked with Elder Scrolls Oblivion.
Don't say that. There's so many more games he has to make still.
I don't think he should be making these games. I actually dropped a Substack thing about what they need to do with regards to Fallout, and I think they need to just say, Todd, you're going to oversee.
Yeah, they need to let other studios work on Fallout.
But Fallout, Starfield, Elder Scrolls, we cannot wait a decade for each of these. And let's face it, the engine is atrocious.
It's a piece of
crap.
The
engines have been atrocious on all the Bethesda games.
And have been for a long time.
Window. Yeah. The cutscenes, the interminable cutscenes when you go through an airlock or when you try and dock with a ship. This is all stuff that was pissing us off in 2009.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's still there today is just, it goes to make me ask, did he peak with Oblivion? Oblivion was wonderful. Yeah. Fallout 4, slightly less. You
don't like Skyrim?
Sorry, Skyrim. Skyrim was the peak. Oblivion, then Skyrim, then Fallout. 76 sucks.
They've actually stuck with it though and turned it into a decent game.
I tried it again just after watching the Fallout TV series. 76 categorically is a bunch of bollocks. It's not a true Fallout game. For a start, don't place it in the boonies of Appalachia. Nobody gives a shit about that particular region.
Right. That was a very weird place to place it. In the middle of the woods that nobody ever goes to.
Yeah, the Fallout London expansion looks more interesting than 76. But yes, there's so much in here that they need to finesse, and they need to get that messaging out right now. They need to say, all right, this is when this is coming. We're dropping and vehicles and stuff like that. Make that shit free. Get people back playing, because nobody's playing the game.
It's dead.
If you look at it,
on Steam, it's dead. I know,
and that is upsetting and obscene.
It's a problem. Yep.
So yeah, for a game that started off strong, had this huge premise, it just became a damp squib. But it's so salvageable.
It is.
It is something that can become an epic space opera, and that's where you can actually open this up to multiplayer. Just like they did with No Man's Sky.
I wouldn't have them do that, man. Let's just let them focus on making the single player good, because that's a big job all on its own.
But I'm not talking about like with Elder Scrolls Online or with Fallout 76. I am talking about populating the space stations. I am seeing more than just generic characters over and over in the space lanes, so you can trade with people.
Well, my biggest complaint is that space just doesn't matter. They need to make space matter.
And they need to make the New Game Plus way more attractive, because you get to the end, sorry, spoilers, you complete it, you're like...
No, don't spoil the end of the game. Don't spoil the end of the game here.
Well, it's like, I've done this, and the New Game Plus comes on, and it's like, I've still got all this stuff that's cool, but now...
Well, you don't have to worry about Game Plus. I mean, hopefully with this DLC that launches before the end of the year, people won't care about New Game Plus. There should be plenty of other stuff to play until that comes out as well. So
there are a lot of us I've actually gone through 3 cycles of New Game Plus.
Oh, wow.
I really did play it.
Wow, you played it a lot for a game you didn't enjoy very much.
Well, yeah, I wanted to. And I was lucky. I got a code the week before launch. Yeah. And I just spent probably about 6 weeks playing the game. And then I haven't been back to it, which sucks. I want to go back to it. But then you compare that with Cyberpunk, and I have put in 500 hours into Cyberpunk.
Wow.
And there's a game that came out to a bad launch.
Yeah, that's another one. That's
so much better.
They revived it.
It got better and better.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to move on. We got a lot more to get to. Next up, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater Delta. It's basically a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3. Pachter, have you ever played a Metal Gear Solid game?
I have, and I'm really, and I like them, but I'm really curious how this is going to go without Kojima. So, the art looked great. And obviously they're following a story that's already been written. So I assume it's going to be okay. But, who knows if they'll pull it off. I was just surprised it was announced here, because it's, Konami separating from Kojima was probably the dumbest thing they ever could have done.
But that's why it appeared here, right? Is because my guess is Konami hates Geoff, because Geoff has become the surrogate for Kojima, and Konami hates Kojima. So I'm sure they view Geoff and Geoff's show as like the Kojima show or whatever. And I was surprised, he wasn't in Geoff's show, by the way.
I wasn't surprised it wasn't in Geoff's show. I was surprised it was here.
I'm saying, like, why were you surprised it's here? There's no way Konami's going to give that to Geoff. when
know,
Geoff,
and
when they
it's
feel
on
like Geoff has
it's
betrayed them to side with Kojima.
I'm
agreed.
surprised
And
it wasn't a state of play. This feels like a PlayStation game that's
Right.
got the history of the
that's
PlayStation
what I
game.
meant.
To
That's
see it
what I
on
meant.
Xbox is kind of jarring.
Yeah.
The connotation here is that they're Xbox exclusive, and neither Dragon Age nor Metal Gear are Xbox.
I don't think that's a
exclusive.
connotation. I don't think people have watched these press conferences long enough. They know that not everything in these press conferences are exclusive.
No, I'm aware, but I know. I'm just saying that this is kind of not the place I would have expected a Japanese company to announce a multi-console.
I just don't think they had anywhere else to go.
Yeah.
Maybe Sony's State of Play was too early, didn't have the trailer ready or something. I don't know. I think this is just by default. Konami was like, oh, we can get into Xbox's press thing? Hot damn, sign us up.
and so the takeaway is it makes Microsoft look better. That's all I'm saying.
That makes sense.
It's just a win for Microsoft because it's one more thing which isn't on Game Pass that just sets out that connotation that, oh, look at all these games. And the way the games are presented in that grid, you know, nothing says these asterisk ones are Game Pass and these, you know, the blue ones aren't.
Right.
You don't know. I don't remember. And so the consumer's just going, oh my God, Microsoft's got everything. Yeah. That's what I meant by connotation.
Okay. What about you, Marcus? What do you think of it?
I'm not a big Metal Gear fan, but I will say it looks interesting. It looks very classic in its gameplay, and it looks cheesy as fuck. So it does tick all.
Sounds like a Metal Gear game to me.
It sounds like a Metal Gear game to me, and that's all I got on that one. Sorry.
Okay. Next up, a game that was rumored to come out this year, but because of the circumstances of the development studio, I was not 100% confident, and that is S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, Shadow of Chornobyl, under development by a Ukrainian development team. I have been rooting this game on ever since we found out about it, and I don't even know if the team is still in Ukraine. I think it may have finally moved out to finish off the game, but it is coming out this year. It is coming on September 5th, 2024. They finished the game somehow while getting invaded by a freaking maniac. So I am rooting hard for this game. Like, I want it to do very well financially. I hope it ends up being a great game. But I'll say this, it is a very drab and dreary game. And also I saw some elements in that trailer where I was like, some of the footage hit pretty close to home. Like, if you've been following the war in Ukraine and watched some of the war footage, some of the shots in that trailer looked very similar to a lot of the war footage I've seen coming out of Ukraine. I think everybody wants to root for the game and wants the game to do well, but it may be tough to root for. What do you think, Marcus?
S.T.A.L.K.E.R 1 wasn't exactly the most colorful and bouncy game.
Right.
I'm rooting for this, obviously, for all the same reasons. One, I actually really liked S.T.A.L.K.E.R. I thought S.T.A.L.K.E.R was just a fun, interesting take. Well executed, looked great on PC.
It's a challenging game.
It's a very hard game. Now, this one, it's going to be interesting how they balance their views on combat with regards to what we see, and you obviously touched on that. Yeah. But the fact that they've got it out, the fact that it's coming this year, more power to them. And, you know, I think we will probably see some pro-Ukrainian propaganda in there. And why the fuck not?
I hope there is.
Fuck Putin.
What do you think of this game, Pachter?
You know, I actually played the Shadow of Chornobyl, which has got to be 15 years ago. And if you remember that game, because of the radioactivity, because of the radiation, it was all in the sewers and railroad tunnels and everything. So that's just how I think of the studio. That's how I think they do their cinematics.
Yeah.
And so I didn't notice what you just observed, that it looks really dark, but because I expect that from these guys. I actually thought they were Polish. I don't think I even knew they were Ukrainian, and I don't know who owns them. Are they Embracer? They're not a Microsoft studio, are they?
They are, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So because remember when THQ went bankrupt, I never really figured out what happened to them. But yeah, they're good game makers. They really are. Yeah. And they're inexpensive. My guess is that they probably do live in Ukraine, and my guess is it'll probably be a one-sided thing, and I'm fine with that. Like, let's make the Russians the bad guys, because they are bad guys. So yeah, I don't think the game's going to be a giant seller. It'll sell 3 to 5 million units, but it's another Game Pass driver, Game Pass subscription driver.
Yep. The only other game that I really wanted to talk about today is The New Life is Strange. It's a smaller game. It's an indie game, but it is one of the biggest adventure franchises on the planet. I'm just going to mention it briefly here. It is a brand new Life is Strange game. It also has this weird dual reality thing. Like the whole plot is that this one girl's best friend dies, and then she goes into this parallel world where she tries to prevent the murder so that she keeps her friend alive back in her real reality. I'm a big fan of Life is Strange. I think the new one looks interesting. So I just wanted to bring that up before we go.
Think of we've had the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, which had
Yeah.
that kind of parallel universe. We had The Man in the High Castle that had the parallel universe. There was a show called Counterpoint, I think, that had parallel universe. It's pretty topical right now in other media.
Yeah.
And so I saw this and thought, that looks really interesting.
Yeah.
You know, and I like the whole reveal to the friend, like, well, I'm trying to keep them from killing you. And the way she described it, it was like, she saves her friend from death in the alternate universe a whole bunch of times because she knows she died. That sounds fun to me. Like, that's the kind of game I probably will play.
Yeah.
And I don't care if it's small or not. Like those creative, that was Annapurna too. What was that?
Yes.
Or was that Square Enix?
No.
Annapurna. Yeah, it's Annapurna. So
No, wait, which game are you talking about?
The Life is Strange?
No, that's not Annapurna.
Oh, okay, but anyway, it just looked really.
But you're
really,
right; it looks like an Annapurna game. I understand why you think that. Yeah,
yeah, like Edith Finch or whatever. Just I really think it's going to be good, and I think again, just like in the movies, we need romantic comedies. In games, we need these kind of. It's sort of a puzzle. It's like how to solve the murder, backwards before it happens. And it's pretty smart.
Life is Strange also explores alternative lifestyles. Like the characters a lot of times are gay or bi or whatever.
Like Persona or something. Yeah.
And so it stretches the boundaries culturally for games as well. Another reason why I'm a big fan. Marcus, and very quickly, do you have anything to say about the new Life is Strange?
I haven't played the originals. I know there's an audience for it, and I think any games like that, like you said, increase diversity and put different messages across. More power to them. I hope it's successful. It doesn't move the needle for me, but I'm glad games like this are being made.
Before you go, Pachter, we have to get your letter grade for this press conference.
Oh my God.
We're all going to provide our letter grades. And it's like it's like A minus, C, D, whatever.
Off the scale. A plus, A plus. They got a 5 out of 4, or 11 out of 10. Oh my God. No, if you ask me if it hit everything I expected, 10. And then did it hit more? Yeah, 5 more. 15 out of 10. That good.
It is. Look, I agree. I give this press conference an A++. It's one of the best E3 related press events I've ever seen. I think a lot of it has to do with the state of the industry right now, and that there just isn't a lot of competition. People aren't all doing their press conferences in the same week anymore. That worked out to the benefit of Microsoft. This thing was so impressive, though, Pachter, that I'm starting to question if the Game Pass thing is a good idea, because I feel like Microsoft is now at a place where if it played by the old way, let's sell our exclusive games, it might win.
So
like, it is to the point now where we're seeing all these studios that it's bought, all those projects coming to fruition, and I'm like, you're kicking PlayStation's ass now with the old model.
Let me give you a 2-minute answer because I got to leave. The model they're pursuing may not happen, but the model they're pursuing is to get to 200 million Game Pass subscribers. And a lot of people are skeptical and think they'll peak at 50. If they peak at 50, this is a bad idea. Every game they put on there that's a first party is going to cost them $200-400 million in lost sales to offer on Game Pass. And they're not going to make that up if they do 10 games with 300 million in lost sales. That's $3 billion a year. They need a lot. They need 20 million Game Pass subscribers to make that up. So no, they won't do it if they peak at 50 million. If they go to 200 million, it's brilliant. I think we're going to see this push for 2 or 3 or 4 more years. And then after 2 or 3 or 4 more years, if they're on the way to 100 and clearly going to make it, they're going to go to 200 and keep it up. So they're making an all-out push. And as I said, the name of my note is going to be playable on there. Play it day one on Game Pass. They are going to. That's their motto. That was the catchphrase of this.
That's what this was all about. This whole press event. Day one Game Pass.
They're all in. And if it doesn't work, Phil Spencer's going to be on the breadlines, fired, and they're going to go back to the old model. If it works, he's going to be elevated a billionaire, and we're going to be happy.
Okay, Marcus, Pachter obviously had to leave a little bit before we got finished with our discussion on our letter grades for the Xbox Showcase. What's your letter grade?
I've got to go with you. I've got to go A+. I would have gone A++, but Microsoft have been very naughty. And I don't want to, I really don't want to like Microsoft right now, but they have some really good stuff. I mean, let's talk about Games Pass. Let's talk about Games Pass decimating retail sales. Let's talk about Games Pass decimating the retail sales of smaller companies who feel they then have to sign up with Microsoft for a case of diminishing returns because they get lost in the overall scrum of things. Do they go to Sony? Well, Sony doesn't seem to be knowing where its ass from its elbow right now.
Yeah.
Nintendo,
yet it's still dominating.
Yeah, they still
crazy.
dominate, but they dominate with their first party. Everything else can to get pushed by the side. That's always been the Sony case.
Well, Sony's first party has been anemic
case.
this generation. It's putting out like 1 or 2 games a year. It's pathetic.
It really is bad. But I mean, I have spoken to people on in smaller publishers, and they're like, our games are not selling because of Games Pass, and the pressure to put on Games Pass is ridiculous. And I think and you look at what Microsoft's acquired, and you look at Microsoft's laid off tens of thousands of people from places they've acquired, and it's not good for the industry.
I don't think it was tens of thousands, but
no, if you
couple thousand, I think.
No, I think if you look at all the layoffs from Microsoft over the last year, I think you're looking at about 10,000. So it may not be tens of thousands, but it definitely is right on the top echelon. And that is just the games industry is becoming top heavy.
It really is.
And Microsoft want the same dominance they have in PC with regards to Windows OS, but they are making it so top heavy that everything's going to collapse.
Marcus, what I realized yesterday watching not just, Geoff's thing, but like all the other stuff that's been coming in and kind of knowing what this was going to be is that the indie game is becoming the video game. And the big budget AAA games, whatever the hell you want to call them, they're becoming like special treats that you get every once in a while. Like they used to be the video game. Now they're becoming the exception, and the smaller budget indie games are the bulk of games being released. I was at a party not long ago, and somebody that I know who really, really likes indie games, we were talking, I was like, about the layoffs, and I was saying, man, I'm like, the problem is there's just aren't games coming out anymore. I'm like, it takes too long to make them, the budgets are too big. I'm like, back when I started in this industry, we were getting like 200 releases a month. Now we get like 15, and he like freaked out on me. He's like, what do you mean there aren't any games? He's like, there's more games now than ever. I'm like, dude, there's games that you like. You like indie games. Most people don't, dude. Like, most people go on Game Pass and they're like, there ain't shit on here because it's just a big wall of indie games. And like, now it's changing. It's like the indie game is becoming the definition of a game now. And it's like, we got to count our lucky stars if we get like big budget games. Everything is just completely flipped upside down.
Yeah, it's gone crazy. I mean, the indie games are the hope for the future. I mean, the people who are making those indie games, and I will say that the Among Us crew who made the announcement at
the funding for indie games,
the funding thing, more power to them.
Yeah,
well done.
Sure.
And I hope
Giving
to see
back.
those people. I hope to see those people evolve and make their cool games beyond just the cool small little game. I didn't play Among Us. I'm not.
I played it just to try it. I felt like I needed to. I'm like, this game is huge. I need to figure out why all my nieces and nephews are playing this goofy game. And I played it, and I was like, and I still don't know why everybody's playing this game.
The last game, the last real sort of like indie game that really took me by surprise, and I'm still playing to this day, is Vampire Survivors.
Yeah.
Because that is a truly classic, fun game. Yeah. But let's go back to Xbox for a second, because let's just
finish with the grade. So all of us gave it basically A++. I don't know if I have ever seen that ever.
I'm A+.
There's always one
they lost the second plus.
I'm just
saying. Yeah, look,
there's always like one dissenting person. In this case, there is no dissenting person.
I'm sorry. Where's Justin Spear?
Yeah.
Where's Ryan Stevens?
He hated it. That's funny.
I miss those guys. I miss seeing those guys so much.
Particularly Justin Spear would be like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
But anyway, to your point, let's pick up the scrap, so to speak. But I think what you're talking about, though, is what Michael hinted at before he had to leave. And that is that, like, the rest of the press conference was all these kind of cool indie games or smaller games. Some of them actually looked really awesome, like better than I expected. But the overarching theme is day one Game Pass, day one Game Pass, day one Game Pass. You see now all the deals that Microsoft has been cracking behind the scenes with these B tier, like higher budgeted indie games, it kind of has all the good ones coming day one on Game Pass.
Yeah, it's turning into an amalgamation of Netflix and Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And this is going to be our future if we don't rebel against it somewhat, where everything is going to be a subscription base and don't own the fucking game. I miss physical copies or digital download copies or whatever. So I think that there was a couple of games in there. I mean, obviously, you're right. We are seeing the evolution of Microsoft's acquisition strategy over the last 10 years. This is
finally coming to fruition right now.
Yeah,
it really
is. Do you
is.
remember pre-pandemic? It was like, what are they doing?
Oh yeah,
pandemic,
they'd spent all the money, but there was no games. And now we're after the pandemic. There still kind of aren't any games, but the next 18 months, I feel like the dam is about to break.
Yeah, the floodgates are opening, and we have discussed 15 games, and 10 of those are going to be mega.
Yeah,
I would say 10 of them are going to be pretty mental.
Big deals. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got 3 other games I want to raise, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
First of all, one came out of nowhere for me. I wasn't aware of it. South of Midnight.
Yeah, they had shown a trailer of that before, but it was it was all like art and cinematic, and it had this very distinctive art style to it, but it didn't show much about the game at all. And then today they show the game, and wow, that's one of the games I was talking about, where I was like, I knew about it before, I thought it might be okay, and then I saw it today, and I was like, oh, okay, like that's way more than I thought it was going to be.
It's a must play for me. I think it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
It seems, what Microsoft have missed, what Xbox has missed, is their version of Infamous or Horizon Zero Dawn. And this is, I think they're trying to maybe position that way. And I think the art looks fantastic. Yeah, the really fact that it's based in the South and the accents.
It reminds me a little bit. Do you remember the N64 game Shadow Man? Do you remember that?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It gives me a very similar vibe. It's like this voodoo influence, like in the swamps of Louisiana setting type deal.
It's got the bayou right there. I'm looking forward to this one. I really want to see where they take it. I hope there is more than obviously just a very large crocodile with a tree growing out of its back.
Well, they showed a lot of gameplay variety in that demo. That's actually one of the few games that legitimately just showed a chunk of gameplay as well.
Which is why I compare it to Horizon Zero Dawn in a lot of ways, because it just felt like that. And there, you've got more mystical stuff. So that's the first one. I think that looks fantastic. Absolutely.
That's a great call. Yep.
The second one is a little more off the beaten track, and it's Atomfall, which is basically, it looks like if Fallout was made in Britain.
It's bizarre. It's like mechs versus zombies. It's like this crazy matchup.
You've got zombies, you've got zombies, you've got mechs, but it seems like it's obviously after a nuclear war. But how the nuclear war is like post World War II England, and you've got it's a phone box, and you've got the cricket and this, that, and the other, and it's just look, this is the small town of Todringham on the Minge, and everybody here is having wonderful time, and there's a bomb dropped, and now we're off to do this, and we've got our weapons, and our weapons are bullets, and they're not really good against the mechs, and that looks fascinating to me. Rebellion, the team behind it, obviously have done some very interesting games over the years.
Decent pedigree there,
yeah, they have the rights to obviously 2000 AD and Judge Dredd. I mean, that's their baby as well. So yeah, I like Rebellion. I want to give Rebellion a chance every time they've got something. Evil Genius was great but flawed. Evil Genius 2, greater but flaweder. So yeah, that's the second one I really like the look of. And then the third one that just, again, came out of nowhere, Mixtape.
Oh, Mixtape, yeah.
One of the last games.
By the way, the first time one of my favorite bands, Joy Division, will be in a video game. I don't know why it's taken creative people, creative geniuses, all these decades to use Joy Division in a video game, but finally it's happened.
The 80s is having a huge resurgence among the younger generations. As tends to happen.
That game caught my eye too. It's a cool game, and it really is about like your mixtape and those songs coming to life. They go on like a road trip, or they go on a drive, and the songs that they're listening to changes the environment. Like, what does Joy Division's world look like? I don't know if I want to know.
What does Suji and the Banshees world look like? I mean,
that game caught my eye too.
This might actually get my wife interested, because she's a huge Susie and the Banshees fan.
Yeah.
that one, it just looks great. The art style looks great. And I mean, they're tapping into sort of like a Stranger Thingsy kind of thing, but you've got the three friends together. Yeah, I just that one, that's the one that charmed the pants off me. And then when you look at like I said, you look at the music, that is brilliant. And that was a theme. I mean, we had Firestarter, we had We Belong by Pat Benatar.
Right, yeah.
And then we had all the stuff from Mixtape. So it was definitely a Gen X musical melange, and more power to it.
I think the final game I would bring up that caught my eye on the smaller end of things was Flintlock. That game has been like advertised and marketed a lot. I never really paid that much attention to it, but because it was in this, and I'm sure a lot of people feel this way, they actually like paid attention to it. I did finally. I think that game's looking pretty good. That comes out on July 1st, so it's coming pretty soon as well. Also, as we mentioned earlier, day one Game Pass. All these smaller games, day one Game Pass. Mecha Break, Atomfall, as you said, Expedition 33, South of Midnight, as you said, Flintlock, Age of Mythology Retold. They showed that, and that's going to be on Game Pass day one.
I thought that was actually just Age of Empires 5 or something. I thought great, and then I mean the Age of Mythology, yeah. But I'm down with that. Yeah. I will say about Flintlock, it gave me a headache. There was something about the way they captured the footage that was kind of jarring to me.
Interesting.
And then they said the words "Soul's Light," and I was like, next.
Me too. I'm Marcus. In all this time we've been apart, I have still never learned to enjoy Dark Souls games. I don't care. I didn't I played Elden Ring longer than the others. Still didn't enjoy it all that much, honestly. Just not.
No, thank you, Vicar. Yeah, not my.
I'm glad they exist for the people that like them. They're just not my thing.
Yeah, I mean, Winterborough, that looked cute little indie game. That looked really interesting.
Microsoft Flight Sim 2024 looks amazing.
It's like a perfect game to watch.
It's like a real game now.
I don't want to play it because.
Oh, really?
No, it's probably. I mean, yes, it would look great on that, or look great on my PC or my Xbox over there. But it's just too. Unless they've got idiot mode, where it's like plane go up, plane go this, plane land. You do stuff fine, great.
No, but I don't think they will have that.
There's too much work in it for me, but I admire how beautiful.
But now it has context, at least. You have actually like missions that you take part in. You're working a job as like, a helicopter pilot or whatever. Like there's context to it now. So I think that might help it appeal to a wider audience. But you're right. Like I don't think they're going to change how hard it is to play. I think it'll stay the same.
The idiot mode is good. People,
they'd be dumb though if they changed it. I mean, it's brand.
No, just give us the option. Give us the option.
That's true.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of the people who gatekeep these particular games, and they say, "Oh well, like, if you play it on
give me Elden Ring with a difficulty setting, I would have played that whole damn thing because I like it. Otherwise, I like the art, I like the setting, I like the tone. I just don't like the fact that I have to fight everything 100 times before I beat it. Like, I'm sorry, it's not entertaining to me. So,
you're not a gamer if you don't play it on
good,
mode.
Marcus. Get good.
Off, you get off my fucking case.
So anyway, I think we've wrapped it up. Is there anything else you want to discuss before we move on?
Let's see. Fragpunk. I just got why.
Fragpunk. That was another one.
Again, I mean, this is the conversation you had with Matt last week.
Because Game Pass. That's why.
I don't need to see all that shit over and over. I don't. World of Warcraft. Now, the new expansion looks great. I gotta say, Microsoft, if they want to be smart, put World of Warcraft on Game Pass. Charge people for the expansions.
Yeah.
Jobs are good.
Collect loot.
Yeah,
seriously.
That's it. I go back to it. I mean,
a lot of people would subscribe because they're already paying $15 a month for the game to play it every month, and then they're going to get the whole rest of the library basically for free every month. Yeah,
make it a $20 tier. Make it a $20 tier, for God's sake.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yep, that would make it work. I agree with you, and I think that'll happen too. Pachter's been calling for that for a while on Pachter Factor as well. Yeah. So overall, though, to me, just an amazing. I cannot think of anything Xbox could have done better, Marcus. Like, really, it's that good. That was one of the best E3 press conferences I have ever seen, and I have seen them all.
If they had done this a decade ago at the Galen Center, and we were all in attendance, we'd all be sitting there like this, still at the Galen Center.
Blown away. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
But the sad truth is it is about a decade too late.
Well, I mean, hey, they're dominating now. They are absolutely dominating.
Well, I don't know about dominating, but
they may not be dominating the console sales, but I think that's going to change with the digital.
They're making
but
revenue.
They are dominating on first party. And look, we do need to talk about State of Play, because State of Play was fucking pathetic.
Well, we're going to shift gears right now. Great segue to the other press events. We can talk briefly about State of Play. Obviously, Matt and I already covered that for, like an hour and a half or whatever on Game Face.
I've got 3
but
points.
But if you have a couple things you want to mention about it, fire away.
Marvel Rivals. Why?
I'm excited for Marvel Rivals. Matt feels like you, but I want to play it.
Concord. Why? And I watched your discussion on this as well. I thought, wow, a great, cool Guardians of the Galaxy X. I
was surprised that Matt wouldn't agree that it was a blatant Guardians of the Galaxy ripoff.
I'm like, dude, it's
blatant.
But it was like, oh, this is cool. It's another bloody 5x5 whatever co-op.
We knew that already, though.
I hadn't. I purposely sort of stepped away from some of these, so I wanted to be really fresh for
It was one of the games that Sony announced when it was like, we're putting out 10 games as a service in 18 months. That was one of the games that it mentioned then. So
yeah, so much like the original Concord, I think this is going to be crashing and burning. So having looked through what State
like
of
a true
was,
Brit.
yeah, having gone through all the stuff, the Astrobot game looked kind of cutesy.
Yeah.
But
whimsical 3D platformer.
It was honestly, especially compared to what Microsoft had just dropped, State of Play was an F.
Oh yeah, I agree 1,000,000%.
Sony
I gave it, I think,
a
C- or something.
Yeah.
There's no comparison. And again, I do think Microsoft benefited from the fact that it was having a much bigger event, and it was around E3 time, where State of Play was like a week and a half earlier. I don't think Sony did itself any favors with the way it scheduled it, but you're right. It got its ass kicked by this showcase. There's no comparison. It's night and day.
They'll come back. I mean, we do know how cyclical this is. We had batches of Microsoft being shit for 2 years, and then Sony took a dump, and then Nintendo, and we'll see what's happening. Yeah. But yeah, that was a really. I mean,
what was your letter grade for State of Play?
F.
Okay, wow, you're lower than Matt and I were, but Matt gave it a D, so yeah, you're not that far off.
I've always been a little. I mean, I looked at the other games, and there was nothing of interest to me.
Yeah, it was anemic for sure. All right, now let's shift gears again. And let's talk about Geoff Keighley's big Summer Game Fest on Friday. 2 hours of video game trailers. And once again, with one of Keighley's events, I struggled at times to figure out if things I was watching were part of the show or if they were a commercial. Because, let's just be honest, the entire show is made up of commercials. But he does not even try anymore to delineate between the show and the paid commercials. They just start, and he doesn't say we're going to take a break, and when we come back, and if he did that, then we'd know, okay, these are ads. Or if there was just a little bit of a bump with a whoosh sound effect that went into the commercial, then you'd know they were commercials. But it all just bled together, and it was just, I mean, I have to do this for my job, Marcus, and I was just holding on by my fingernails by the time we got to an hour and 45 minutes. I was like, look, man, I respect indie developers. I do. And I get that, Keighley couldn't lock down a lot of the bigger stuff because of this Xbox thing. And it's even more clear now that we've seen the Xbox showcase. But still, it's if those are the games you could get, then maybe it's time to dial it back to an hour or an hour and a half. But as we saw, the day before the show happened, we've now discovered that these publishers, even these indie guys, are paying insane amounts of money to get their trailers into Geoff's show. The cheapest you can spend is $250,000 to get into Geoff's show. And so I know why he bloats it with games, because every single game that he shows is at least another $250,000. But at a certain point, you have to show some restraint and not be greedy and care about whether people want to watch the show or not. Because I'll be honest with you, Marcus, if I did not do this for my job, I would not watch Summer Game Fest next year, because we're going to go through the games here that matter. He literally showed I don't know, 60 or 70 games. There's 8 that are even worth discussing. And even those were redundancies from other events that just happened, or they showed up again in the showcase. What's going on? What's your take on what happened with Summer Game Fest, Marcus? Summer Game Fest, sorry.
I'm sorry, I've renamed it Suck It Geoff Fest. Um, and look, I've defended Geoff in the past. He's come in for
I
a
mean,
lot
we
of
all have. We
unwarranted
worked with him for
criticism.
years,
Yeah,
and
we
he's a
worked
good
with him.
guy, and he's done great things, but
But
he's
this
not
is
perfect, you know.
he's Palpatine the fuck out. He really has. This, I mean, he played a huge part between him and the ESA, and they both managed to put E3
I would argue
to bed.
the one who's really at fault for E3 going away is PlayStation.
Well, and I'd say the ESA grossly mismanaged it, but then I would also
one of the
say
big three left the show floor, and then Microsoft was doing its own thing. It was still there, but it was across the street.
which
That's what
is
really killed
something
it.
that the ESA could have been better about
The
it.
greed of the ESA,
the greed
yeah.
of the ESA,
Yeah.
and then you had Geoff coming in with, "Oh, well, I'm going to do this, and it'll supplement this," and then
But
I'm
Geoff
like,
always
"Oh,
wanted E3 to fail because
yeah,
he
I know."
knew once that happened, he could start charging $250,000 for each trailer in his show. Like
And
this was
I
all a
hope,
master plan by Geoff, man.
yeah,
Like
he's a
we know
very,
him;
very
he's a
smart
smart
man,
guy. He's very
very smart.
conniving. Like he just
Yeah.
is, and that's how people. Let's be honest, Marcus. Do you know too many really rich people who aren't conniving? That's kind of what you have to do to become really rich. Let's just be honest. In
There's a reason
capitalism,
that
that's how it works. So
there's a reason we're poor and awesome.
seriously, though, I mean, there's something to it for sure.
There is, and look, honestly, the things that have come out, the Esquire piece, I think it was, that was picked up then by Kotaku and a bunch of other people, where we saw these things being at these prices. I hope it puts the nail in the coffin of Summer Games Fest, because there's been such. Well, let me finish. There's been such a kickback. People just really pushing back against Summer Games Fest and everything that's gone on with it. Microsoft have proven that they can just do a summer reveal and own it. Yeah. Sony up their game, Nintendo up their game, and not force everybody to come from all over the world to come and do this stupid little poxy version of E3 that makes Santa Monica in 2007 look like a great idea.
Well, how funny is it, Marcus, that the industry refuses to not call it E3? Just flat out, we just started calling it not E3, and that's what it's called now. It's literally called not E3 by everybody because people just are not willing to let it go. It's really an interesting, like, psychological experiment.
E3 at its peak was so good.
Yeah.
E3 was. We were all in it together. We were all there. Everybody came together, and there was a social aspect, and we were seeing the games, and we were playing the games, and it had this sense of occasion, and the games industry had this money, and it started to go tits up when they started diversifying and inviting people. The public could pay to come in, and then after that, they tried to spin stuff off and started working with Geoff, and it just spiraled and spiraled and spiraled. E3 at its peak, say 2010 to 2013. Sweet spot. They had rules. Nobody had to go overboard. Nobody was allowed to go overboard. Everybody could get in, see the stuff. There was nobody queuing up for free swag. There were no fights at the fucking Nintendo booth because somebody got a mushroom hat and somebody didn't.
Yeah.
And this is what happens. The more you open it up to people, the worse it gets. And if they'd have kept it industry, kept it, say you can't go absolutely bananas with your booth, we could still be having E3 and still enjoying it.
So now go to Summer Game Fest.
Yeah, let's talk about Suck It Geoff Fest. I've got 4 things that actually really made the thing interesting. 4 things out of 2 hours, 9,000 games. First one is Star Wars Outlaws.
Yeah. Every time they show that, I'm going to be there.
Yeah, I'm there. Man. I can't wait to see it when we talk about Ubisoft tomorrow.
Yeah, because my feeling is we're going to get a big chunk of gameplay at Ubisoft tomorrow as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The Blumhouse game segment.
That really hit you, struck your fancy.
I like the little horror games. I think Blumhouse has actually done some very exciting stuff in the horror genre.
I agree with that. I'm a big horror fan. I love horror movies. I'm a little gore hound. I don't know, though. To me, it felt like they're trying to shove their way into the industry. And Geoff, having his ties through his dad in the film industry with IMAX and all that, to me, it all felt like doing dad a solid.
I know you look at Annapurna and everything that they've done and how they've done it right. So that's why I'm looking to give Blumhouse a chance. I think they've got some creative shit going in there. They had 3 or 4 games in there that looks just different enough.
Yeah.
I'm willing to give them a chance. I'm looking forward to it. That was a high point to me. The next one is totally going to be out of left field, and it's the Power Rangers game.
No, that is definitely out of left field.
The retro Power Rangers game looks so good. I mean,
I think that shows you, though, where this show is at. That's one of the games that you plucked out of it, that you were like, that's one of the big highlights.
I mean, it reminded me of the Turtles arcade game, the Simpsons arcade game. You know, that style of graphics.
That's what
Streets
it is.
of Rage.
Yeah.
Perfect. It ticks my nostalgia. Plus, it's Power Rangers. I mean, who doesn't like the Mighty Morphin Flower Rangers?
Yeah.
So, and then the last one, and this is, I'm sure you probably even pegged this as something that's going to appeal to me, and it's Delta Force. It's Hawk.
Didn't you work on that game?
Dude, I spent 4 years at Nova Logic. Voxels forever. I mean,
Black Hawk Down was also shown. Didn't you work on that?
I launched Black Hawk Down.
I mean, that was
Black Hawk Down joint ops. But I mean, to see that that somebody's doing all the Delta Force titles, they've obviously bought Nova Logic and got the licenses to all these games, and they've got all the old games, and now they're going to have this huge Delta Force thing. It gave me all the feels because it took me back to a fun time. And then when they talked about the Black Hawk Down stuff, and they're actually combining stuff from the film, and I remember what we went through when we were working with the consultants and everything with that game back in 2002, 2003.
Took you back in time to a better time, Marcus.
Well, I mean, it's not often you see a game that you really did pour your heart and soul into promoting and have such fun doing, and then you see it remade in your own lifetime. I mean, that's a big
stuff like that makes me feel old.
It does. It makes me feel old too, and the stories I could tell you that are totally inappropriate nowadays.
Yeah,
but
I bet that was gaming
so
PR back in the early aughts.
Oh god,
I went to some gaming events that I'm like still blown away by to this day. I'm like, really? Did that happen? Like,
thank God there's no camera phones back then.
Seriously.
But yeah, Hawk Ops, I'm really looking forward to playing it. I really want to give it a try. I want to see what they've done with Black Hawk Down, because Black Hawk Down was, it was the first Delta Force game that really sort of like focused on a real world kind of thing. First time we moved away from voxels. Yeah. I made my one contribution to the Delta Force franchise because having come from Rainbow Six and Ghost Recon at Ubisoft, I remember sitting in a meeting with John Garcia, who's the head of the company, and they were showing off Black Hawk Down, and they were just they were moving the characters round to peek around the corner. There was no lean.
Yeah,
and that was my thing: is why can't we lean? Why can't we use Q and E to lean? And that was my one contribution to that game. And the lean came in.
That's a pretty big one.
And yeah, I mean, I just I'm so looking forward to it. And it's just from nostalgia.
Yeah,
the rest of it, no disrespect to the people who are working their asses off. It was, it's great to see so many indie games. If Geoff didn't give those people a really discounted rate, then I'm sorry, Jeffrey, you need a good spanking.
Yeah.
The lot.
I don't think he did. I'm just gonna put it out there.
There's a lot of stuff from Japan. There was a lot of stuff that they pulled in from Japan that almost traded on the cachet of Geoff, how Geoff used to be, and Geoff had the brand recognition.
Slitterhead, that new game from the old Silent Hill guys. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's Geoff trading on his rep, and his rep right now
his rep with Kojima for sure. Yeah,
but I mean, it could not be lower. And
I just think people trust him because Kojima trusts him. I think Japanese developers are like, you know what? If you're good enough for Kojima to work with, we'll work with you.
And I think, unfortunately, that's going to become a double-edged sword because obviously the Western developers don't trust him. And I think we're going to start to see more people falling away from it. And it'll be interesting to see how the Game Awards at the end of the year, which is another basically, padding Geoff's bank balance.
2 hours of advertisements, yeah.
Yeah, I think
at least it has like musical performances and some other stuff in there. But this is really, it's just a commercial. And I mean, these things have always been glorified TV commercials. They always have been. These press conferences, that's what they are. You just watch trailers. And a lot of times these publishers need to pay somebody to run their trailer somewhere. But this is the one event where they can get a million people to watch their stuff. They don't have to pay for people to put it in there unless you're working with Geoff. So,
but I think it was such a bad show. People have lost their jobs. People are pissed. People don't want, they want to support games, and they don't want games companies to be giving money to somebody who's not giving anything back to the industry, who had to be forced and shamed to call out the layoffs. I mean, he is basically Ryan fucking Seacrest.
Yeah.
And not in a good way.
But did you notice, though, the way he talked about the layoffs at the beginning of the show? He tried to spin the layoffs into a good thing. He tried to say, oh, a bunch of people have lost their jobs, but you know what? Now you can work by yourself on Unreal Engine and make your own game. Like 5 games in my show where it's just one dude making the game. It's like, I don't know. It felt like he used the layoffs to make an excuse for why his show was filled with indie games instead of big blockbusters. There was that whole open to me did not sit right with me at all. I don't know how the developers feel about it, but for me personally, I was like, I don't know how stupid you think everybody is, but I'm not falling for this. Like,
the problem is there's a layer of game execs who came up with Geoff and made him the kingmaker. I mean, they were the kingmakers. They made him the king, and now they're going to reap the benefits. But I think it's interesting that Xbox has practically disassociated itself from Summer Games Fest.
They still called their showcase Summer Games Fest, by the way.
But their actual event took place far away from downtown. Yeah. It was over on the west side, Beverly Hills. That's where all their team are. They're not with everybody else. Mm-hmm. I think the tide is turning against. And look, he could be a great guy when he wants to be. He can be better. He needs to do better. Yeah. He really, really does. He needs to be the Geoff of 10, 15 years ago who cared passionately about games and not about his bank balance. He's rich.
He was different then, for sure. There's no denying it. I mean, I've known him since 2001, I think. And I'll just be honest with you, it's like I died. When I left Game Trailers, he's never contacted me again, ever. And we were bros, dude. Like, we worked on exclusives together all week, every week. I was locking down exclusives for Game Trailers. I'd be like, hey, you want to run this in the show? Yes or no? He would do the same thing. He'd get an exclusive for Game Trailers TV with Geoff Keighley. He'd be like, can you run this on the website? If it helps you lock down the exclusive, absolutely. We were bros for literally like 15 or 20 years. Like, I go back and look at old stuff I shot, projects that I worked on. We worked together on everything for like over a decade. And I left Game Trailers and it's literally like I died. All I know is he puts on a show and my job is to figure out whether that show is good or not. I tend to agree with you. I think the show is a little better than you're saying because, like, for example, I have like 9 games that I think are worth talking about. The first one is Lego Horizon Adventures, a Lego game based upon the Horizon franchise, which is really weird. Marcus, do you find it strange that Aloy has kind of become like the spokesperson for PlayStation?
Well, who else have they got? Spider-Man?
I mean, that's my point, though. It's kind of crazy because you can't make it Ellie because Ellie's like a psychopathic murderer. Like, you can't really make it Kratos because Kratos is like a psychopathic murderer. And so it feels like it's just fallen on Aloy because it's the only character that they have that isn't a psycho. But for some reason,
why would you take a game and Legofy the game?
I know.
It's pointless.
And it also looks like Guerrilla is actually working on the game, at least partly. And I'd rather have Guerrilla working on something else. So
yes,
I don't understand it. Like, I'm sure PlayStation fans are through the roof over it or whatever, and they're all going to buy it. I don't know. I looked at it and I was just like, why?
Those Lego games have really, they've run themselves into
There's just so many.
I mean, if you look
and
at
they don't change enough. The last Star Wars one was good, but
Skywalker
not as good as I thought.
Yeah,
Skywalker Saga, yeah.
Yeah, it was not good. Yeah, I looked at it. I'm like, hang on. That's Horizon in Lego.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah.
I actually said, oh, fuck off to the screen. And I just like switched off until the next thing came. I just totally checked out and went back to playing Vampire Survivors.
All right. Well, let's go through a couple more I do want to talk about. Harry Potter Quidditch Champions. That looked like an indie game. Didn't look great. Coming off of Hogwarts Legacy, I feel like the bar for Harry Potter games has been risen significantly. They're completely ignoring all the cultural stuff with that game. The bottom line is that game was really good.
It was really, really good. It was
I loved
excellent adaptation.
And it sold very well. And I feel like you can't make crappy Harry Potter games anymore. You can't get away with it. So I thought that was a huge drop. I was like, okay, I kind of was looking forward to that, but not anymore.
It's fucking Quidditch, dude. I mean, at the end of the day, this should have been an expansion for Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah.
It should plug into Hogwarts Legacy, and you play that. You play that way. This
Agreed.
is not going to be Quidditch FIFA or Quidditch.
No
Madden.
one's going to care.
It's not going to
totally
take
flop.
off.
No one's going to care.
I mean, it's another bad idea in a string of bad ideas from Warner Brothers, which sucks because Warner Brothers has so many talented staff, so many great people, and such great IPs.
We know them. They are great
between
people.
this and Suicide Squad, it's like we had the best-selling game of 2023.
And
we'll just look it up in 2024.
And the worst. So anyway, that game didn't do anything for me. Probably Jeff's biggest get was to get a trailer for Star Wars Outlaws from Ubisoft. Like, granted, it was just kind of like a teaser that pushes to Ubisoft's big thing, but it was the biggest game in Jeff's show by a significant margin.
Thing by a mile. Yeah.
To me, I'm all over Star Wars Outlaws. I don't need to talk about it anymore. I don't really need to see anything about it anymore. I just want to play the damn thing. And it is coming pretty soon. It is going to make it out this year, which is exciting. The other game that he showed that I was like, okay, was Civilization 7. Didn't show really anything in game, but I love Civ, and I can't wait for a new Civ. And until the day I die, I will be excited for a new Civ game. So he got that. I can see where maybe Microsoft was like, we're good, because it's the 7th entry in the franchise. But to me, I was excited. I kind of knew it was coming anyway, but it's always good to know, okay, we got the trailer. That means the game can't be too far off. So I was excited for that. What about you?
Firaxis deserved better. Firaxis deserves to debut that at a better fucking thing than silly Jeff Fest.
Yeah, but I don't know where else it goes. I mean, I can see Xbox turning it down. So
I mean, that's the thing. It's one of those things that if I ever get a winning lottery ticket on like $500 million in the bank, I'm going to make Summer Beer Fest, and it's going to be beer and games.
That'd be great.
God help you, Jeffrey.
I'll be there.
I'm coming for you. You will be, because we will actually make it fun and inclusive, and we'll bring the industry in, and we will have everybody. It will be like bonus round used to be. Yeah. And, it's just going to be a bunch of fun. We'll pull people in. But anyway, yes, that one, I mean, it's Civ 7. It'll sell. You will pay for it. I will pay for it. We will play it on PC, and we will be very, very happy because Firaxis will do what they do best, and Sid Meier will be there and we'll be going.
It is coming day and date to consoles, which doesn't always happen with Civ, so that's kind of a big deal.
That's a PC game for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I always play it on PC.
Play Diablo on a console, and I certainly won't be playing Civ.
Even if, and I am about to upgrade my PC, but right now my PC is kind of a piece of junk. But even if I were to have my old PC still, I would still play it on PC instead of playing it on my consoles where it would probably look better.
Yeah, just not gonna happen.
Next up, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. We already got the first trailer from that like a month and a half ago, so it wasn't a big reveal, but it was the second trailer for it. The first game sold pretty well, but this is kind of what we're talking about here with this show. Like, this is one of the highlights. Like, that's where it is. That's the scale of the content and like, it's so funny. I'm looking at the rundown here, and I bolded the stuff in the rundown, and dude, we're jumping like 15 games at a time to get to the stuff that we want to talk about. Like, that's where the show is at. Next up, we mentioned this a minute ago, Slitterhead, which is the new horror game from the crew that created the Silent Hill franchise. And that game looked more interesting before I saw it in a gameplay trailer, when it was just like, hey, that dude's head turned inside out. Like, I was like, that game looks cool. And then I saw the gameplay, and I'll say this, it is kind of innovative. It looks a little bit like Geist, where you can kind of jump around and possess things. It does look to have some unique gameplay mechanics to it, but it also just doesn't look very good. Like, the engine that it's built on, you can just tell it's a small team with a small budget making the game. But again, it was one of the highlights of Summer Game Fest to show you kind of where the show was at. You have any comments on Slitterhead? Did you check that out?
Not that one or Kingdom Come. Neither of them.
Did you play the first Kingdom Come?
I think I did. I can't remember.
There was some cultural stuff around that game too, where like the studio had a couple chuds working on it and blah, blah, blah. But that game also did surprisingly well. It didn't do like Hogwarts Legacy well, but it sold better than people thought it was going to.
So yes, I remember it. I have no interest in the follow-up because I played that first one. It was it really just chumped it along.
It was janky.
Yeah, it did not. It's
also very dry and drab and a little too realistic for its own good, I think.
It was drier than a sandpaper sandwich in the Sahara.
There you go. And then again, we jump another like 10 or 11 games, and we get to the Alan Wake 2 DLC, which, okay, that's a good get. Did you like Alan Wake 2?
I haven't played Alan Wake 2.
I haven't finished it. I
liked
played it
Alan
like
Wake.
10
I liked
hours, and
Alan
I
Wake
kind of
1.
lost interest in it.
I like the first one. I like Remedy. Control kind of upset me a little because it just felt really repetitive. But Alan Wake is something I'll get at some point, but it's been not a priority for me.
Well, it was a shadow drop. They released the DLC last night, kind of right after the presentation. It is
and a
called
physical
Night
version of the game.
Springs. Yeah, and a physical version of the game. And Night Springs is that DLC is based mostly around the really creepy TV show that kind of comes in and out throughout the entire game. That's kind of the crux of the plot that DLC is based around. Haven't heard any reports about people playing it to know whether it's been good so far or not, but still, a pretty good get for Geoff. And again, shadow dropping that night, good for us. And then there was just two other games worth mentioning. Monster Hunter Wilds, that actually is probably his biggest get. As far as like interest from the most amount of people, Monster Hunter Worlds has sold like 12 million copies or whatever, so people love the Monster Hunter. This trailer actually shows significant stuff, even though it was just shown in the state of play as well. This whole not E3 has been like a saturation of Monster Hunter Wilds. They are just flooding the channels with new trailers and other media and interviews and stuff. But that's a big get for Geoff still. It's Capcom's like biggest game is coming here in the near future. So that was pretty big. Are you a Monster Hunter fan at all, Marcus? No.
I'm sorry. Look, and I know there are a lot of people who like it, and when Capcom bring out something and they cater to the fan base and they enjoy it and it's good and they evolve the gameplay without throwing the baby out with the bathwater, I'm happy. So if you are happy as a Monster Hunter fan, that's enough for me. Great. It wasn't my cup of tea. Not really interested. Plus, I had the misfortune of watching that horrible Monster Hunter movie with Mila Jovovich.
Oh yeah, it was not very good.
Yeah.
And then the final game, the game that the show ended on, Phantom Blade Zero. It's another one of those PlayStation 5 console exclusives. It's being developed in Asia. Well, there's a lot of games coming out of Korea these days that are. It seems like it's a hodgepodge of whether they're good or not. They're either really good, like Stellar Blade, I think was a pleasant surprise for a lot of people. Black Myth Wukong, that's another one being developed in Asia, and that could be good or it could be a nightmare. That's the way I kind of feel about a lot of the games coming out of Asia right now. It's just a crapshoot. We'll see. But people are excited about Phantom Blade Zero, so I think probably ultimately it was a pretty good get by Geoff. But that's it, man. That's the show. Like, there were some pretty cool indies. Like, there's that one weird climbing survival game called Cairn that I thought was pretty cool.
I thought it was called Karen.
Maybe that's right, but I thought
no, but it's Ken.
Yeah,
it's Ken. CAIRN.
I think.
RN. Yeah, but I thought it was Karen.
And I thought that looked pretty cool. You have to take
a Karen up on the mountain and throw her away. It looked interesting, but there was
otherwise Wander Stop, Unknown 9, Inatria, The First Descendant, They had a trailer for Sonic Cross Shadow Generations, The Final Season 3, I mean, I could just go on and on. It was just one big
It was like Hometown Buffet. One or two things are going to be interesting, but the rest is just
really was.
You're going to get food poisoning.
So let's give our letter grade for Geoff's Summer Game Fest 2024 presser. I'm going to give it a C-, D+. I can't give it average because it's not average, and that would be a flat C.
I'm giving it a D.
Yeah.
And basically the only reason it does better than State of Play is because at least it had 4 things that I found interesting, unlike State of Play, where nothing was of interest to me.
Like, so, if he chopped 45 minutes out of that show and kept the games that we just specifically discussed and kept the very best indies, then maybe it gets up to like a C+ or something like that. But it just dragged on way too long. And like, again, I was just checking my watch a lot and just like, when is this thing going to end? And it just wouldn't end. And it just felt like, in a lot of ways, I hate to say it, but like a cash grab.
Yeah, he basically tried to make the Game Awards a summer version of the Game Awards without the awards and without the breaks in as you said in between. Mm-hmm. The flow was all off. I appreciated that he brought somebody else on to help introduce. And that was great.
See, remember last year there wasn't a single woman on the show last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so he caught flack for that. And now this year, he has a female co-host, and she was literally one of the worst hosts I have ever seen. She couldn't read a teleprompter. She couldn't just recite stuff from memory. Jeff. She fumbled over all her lines. I don't even know who she is. Maybe she's a developer. Maybe she's some influencer everybody loves. She was a bad host. So it's
I think I'm going to cut to some slack, mate. I'm going to say, obviously, I think it was probably her first time doing this sort of thing, and it can be kind of intimidating. But you don't do that for a show where people are paying
$250,000 for 30 seconds.
But if you're Geoff Keighley, who we've said is conniving, what you do is, I ticked the boxes. I mentioned the layoffs. I had a woman of color co-present some of the segments with me. Yeah, she was crap. I'm better. So we really want that again. Yes, I talked about the layoffs. So you can't really have me on that. I had all these indies who come through. So you can't say that I'm not a friend to the indies. It's because he is drowning, and he is.
I think maybe he's programming his content based on social media.
Maybe he is. I mean, it's literally like one of those ads from the 70s. Hi, I'm Crazy Geoff, and I've got video game trailers for you. I've got all the trailers.
He was way over the top sometimes too. He'd be like, and here it is now. And then he'd like stare at the camera, and I'm like, whoa, yo, chill out, bro. Like,
yeah,
it's good to show energy. I felt like he went over the top, and it seemed fake. I guess is what I'm getting at.
He needs to lay off the cold brew.
Yeah. So anyway, I think we both can agree that was a pretty big disappointment. I think we can also agree, though, that there just really aren't enough big, good games to go around. Like, I don't think we could do E3 the way we used to, Marcus. Like, I don't think there's enough big games anymore to have an Xbox press conference and a PlayStation press conference and a Nintendo press conference in the span of 5 days. I just don't think the industry can support it anymore.
That's because Microsoft have bought everybody, and until Games Pass gets removed,
it's because they're just not releasing as many big games anymore because the budgets are so high.
But Games Pass, I mean, Games Pass has gone from people being guaranteed
indies. Like those aren't big games that would normally fill out a press
they're going
conference.
From being guaranteed X amount of $1 million to get onto Games Pass to these things just dropping in price, and people are going to Microsoft now saying, how do we get on Games Pass? Well, if you can I have a retail version, you're not going to get on. I mean, Microsoft, I predict in the next three years or so, especially if as Pac says, they get up to 100 million, Microsoft will be investigated as a monopoly. If not here in the US, Games Pass will get some shit kicked out of it.
I mean,
they
kind of were when they went to buy Activision. They already were vetted already. They went through that whole process. They had a trial, and they had discovery, and they uncovered all these embarrassing emails. Like, they did it already, and they let it pass through. Like, that's why they have to pay Ubisoft for rights in Europe. That was a concession that they had to make for that sale to go through in Europe. They had to give Ubisoft the streaming rights to Game Pass.
Yeah, but now we're talking solely about Games Pass, and Games Pass is becoming a monopoly.
That's what I just said. They had to let Ubisoft acquire the rights to Game Pass.
I think you're talking about the Activision sale.
No, that's what prompted it, though. That's what started all the court cases. In the US, they just let it pass through. But Europe was like, hell no. Like, we're not going to let you corner the market on streaming the entire industry's games. And so basically Microsoft had to give the rights to Game Pass in Europe to Ubisoft. And now Microsoft has to pay Ubisoft to license the rights to its own service, which is just
I still think it's going to get something's going to happen, which is going to bring this down, because you're basically talking about a captive audience. You are basically buying out the competition. Something is going to come around, whether it needs a change in Congress or the Senate or
just monopoly laws, antitrust laws. They need to adjust.
Yeah, all this shit is going to come, and it's going to come crashing down. And what's his name? Mr. Microsoft is going to
Phil Spencer.
Mr. Xbox. Yeah, Mr. Spencer, I think is. I mean, he's still going to be a billionaire, but I think his grand vision is going to crumble.
Well, earlier you were saying that Microsoft was going to win.
Microsoft.
Like earlier in the show, you were talking about how Microsoft, after this presser, they're going to dominate, they're going to win.
Yeah,
but now you're saying that Phil Spencer sucks and they're screwed.
I'm not saying Phil Spencer sucks. I'm not saying they're screwed. I'm saying something has to happen, because what they're doing is not good for the industry. They're hoarding the resources. They're making people redundant. There's people and companies just gone like that.
Yeah, I understand
with
all that.
huge legacies. Xbox Game Pass is the second worst thing to happen in the games industry after the fucking Embracer Group and Lars Wingerfall.
That's a tough one there.
That's an asshole right there, and that's somebody who should.
I mean, I feel like that's who you should be banging on more than anybody.
Oh,
I mean,
no, I'm against them both.
bought these studios knowing all they were trying to do was buy them and then flip them to the Saudis for a huge profit. And the Saudis were like, no, and they were caught holding the bag, and it cost everybody their jobs. It's insane.
They killed Volition, for God's sake. Volition did so much cool shit. They destroyed Saints Row, the Saints Row.
I mean, their last Saints Row was not good, man.
Oh, it was awful, but Saints Row 4 was still one of my favorite games.
Yeah.
So yes, I just think Microsoft, I don't hate Microsoft, but I want them to do better, but I don't think Games Pass is good for the entire industry. I think it's hogging the resources. I think it's draining people. I think it's sending people out of the industry because they're like, I can't work here anymore. I can't work in this industry. I can't afford it. I don't have the money to set up and start doing my own dev thing. And so it's like, I'm going off somewhere else. So we're losing talent to the industry from the industry.
I agree with all
so
that. Yeah.
I really hope that Microsoft find a way to balance it a little bit more. Yes, if you want to put your own first party stuff on there, but just make it your own first party. And maybe other games have to they can't come onto Games Pass for maybe 12, 18, 24 months. And then it becomes more like Netflix.
Yeah.
We've got our original content, and we just licensed Seinfeld.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that might be better because we've got to encourage people to go out and buy these games, or more and more small to mid-sized publishers, not just developers, publishers, will go the way of the dodo.
That's true. All right. We're going to wrap it right there for our analysis of the Xbox Not E3 showcase. And as a bonus, Marcus and I kind of went through Geoff Keighley's big Summer Game Fest 2024 presser as well.
Went through it with a big spike.
We kind of did. Yeah. I think it deserves it, though. And my feeling is I think people watching this will agree with us on that one. So we will be back tomorrow after Ubisoft's big Forward press event where we're going to get to see Assassin's Creed Shadows. We're also going to get to see Star Wars Outlaws, probably big chunks of gameplay of that. And we'll be back tomorrow to analyze all of that stuff. So, Marcus, thank you for joining us today. It was awesome to talk games with you again.
Thank you for having me. I dropped one of the worst of E3s.
Yeah.
I found it on YouTube last night, and I actually dropped it on my Facebook feed. And I miss doing this stuff. Yeah. I really do. I miss talking with you. I mean,
how many times have I asked you if you want to do a show with us?
It's
50 times.
It's been tough because of the medical issues.
Yeah. I mean, you've been going through stuff, but when you're ready, man, to start doing more content, you just let us know.
Yeah. Maybe we can. It's just, there are so many things going on. But
yep. But and also thanks to Michael Pachter, who will be back again tomorrow to talk Ubisoft with us. He had to jump out a little bit early today, but we did get his takes on pretty much everything Xbox related. So thanks as always for your support at patreon.com/SIFTD. Thank you, Marcus, for joining us today. We'll see you tomorrow.